still southbound I-15, seeing some very heavy delays starting as you approach Center Street in Provo, reaching all the way down to 1400 North, where they are still working on that road, and it is still 3 left lanes closed, only 2 right lanes getting through, so that's why it's dense there. In Salt Lake County, I-15 delays still working their way out. Northbound, a little slow at Bangerter Highway. Also, southbound I-15 slow at the south interchange. This is due to a disabled RV that is blocking a right lane and shoulder, causing just a little congestion there. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, KSL weather forecast, we're going to see highs in the triple digits through next week. Today, the high only forecast to be below 198 degrees. But we are on our way to that already. It is 88 degrees in Salt Lake City right now. Inside Sources coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Rental rates for apartments in Salt Lake County are trending down. KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi reports.
The reason is supply and demand. Dayon Eskich, senior research fellow with the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute, says it's not across the county, but rather in pockets.
Downtown, we've seen significant construction. So since our peak in mid-2022, we're down about 8.5% on asking rent.
That's about $100. Eskich says in order to fill vacancies, renters are being offered gift cards, travel vouchers, and even free rent. He expects this trend to continue for 12 to 18 months. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
Community leaders in Beaver are thankful for the help they've received after recent flooding, but say it'll be some time before things are back to normal. County leaders say they had at least 3,000 volunteers helping out on Saturday. Beaver County Sheriff Cody Black says while the help is appreciated, there are still areas in danger.
I don't want to give people a false sense of security. This is not over. There is still a ton of debris up on that mountain.
Black says because of road damage in the narrow canyon, it's not possible to remove all of the debris. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 255 points to 52,223. The NASDAQ down 10 points to 24,965. And the S&P is up 9 points to 7,421. Coming up, triple digits in the forecast. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Did you know Utah State University is home to one of the nation's leading centers for disability research and advocacy? At the Institute for Disability Research Policy and Practice, we work side by side with Utahns with disabilities, their families, and community partners to make our state more accessible and inclusive for everyone. Our researchers, educators, and advocates partner with family service providers and policymakers to create real lasting change. We believe that everyone deserves a chance to live, learn, work, and play in our communities. From helping children reach their potential in early intervention programs, to building accessible technologies, to improving mental health and employment supports, our work touches every corner of the state. The Institute for Disability Research, Policy, and Practice is the only disability-focused research center in the state of Utah. That means we're Utah's home for innovation, data-driven policy, and community solutions that make life better for people with disabilities. Find us at idrpp.usu.edu.
Amanda, every business needs IT help, and sometimes you've got that guy who already works for your company who knows how to do this stuff, but sometimes you don't, or the guy who knows the IT stuff, that's not his actual job.
Right. So Les Olson IT they can be your 24/7 help desk. They can support your existing help desk. They can do advanced cybersecurity protection. Maybe just come and take a look. Are you subject to phishing or ransomware or other things? What are the cyber threats you're facing?
And you've got to make sure that your data is secure, so both cloud and data backup solutions, they can help you with that. Plus, everybody's got to use a computer. That's where hardware comes in, infrastructure support. You don't have to know all this stuff because Les Olson IT knows it.
And most of the time, they can help you fix whatever's going wrong remotely, just off your computer. Plus, of course, they have copiers and printers. They always will at the very best price.
Les Olson IT is your trusted local IT partner. They've been in business for 70 years, and they've got 9 locations from Logan to Las Vegas.
Find out more at lesolson.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Let's get an update in the traffic center with Cormac Bone.
The worst delays are still in Utah County, southbound I-15 as you approach Center Street in Provo, reaching down toward 1400 North, where it is still just 2 right lanes getting through in that emergency road repair at 1400 North as you come into Springville on South 15. Northbound I-15, though, delays looking really good, almost completely clearing out. A little slow at 5300 South and 13th South. South 15, a little slow at the South Interchange. That's due to a disabled RV that is blocking a right lane and shoulder. And eastbound I-80, that right lane pretty full as you approach the US 40 turnoff. Got an old car? Donate it at carsforkids.org. It's easy, and they'll pick it up as soon as tomorrow. Call 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS today. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. We might have broken a record last night with the warmest overnight low. We're still waiting to find out about that, but we're on our way to 98 degree, the forecast high today, 100 tomorrow, 99 on Wednesday. Right now, it is 88 degrees and mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. We have a lot to talk about today. And for Holly Richardson is Jim Bennett. Jim, good to see you again.
Good to see you, sir.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a parade?
I have, many times.
So I did several times when I was, I know we're digressing a little bit. We have a lot to talk about today, but I spent the weekend in parades, I feel like. And when I was running for Attorney General in 2004 and 2020, we had to do the parades. We had some guy loaned us this bright red Mustang convertible, and we'd ride around. But Friday, I had an entirely different perspective of a parade, and Saturday too, for that matter. Holly and I were asked to do commentary on the Days of 47 parade, and we set up. They had a booth for us set up on 2nd East and 3rd South with this huge booming loudspeaker. We had little information about all of the floats and the various. I think there were 121 groups that came by, either floats or high school bands or whatever, and we got to comment on those. And it was so fun. It was really, really interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then Saturday, KSL has a float, and we were asked to be on the float. Of course, I decided to walk, which was foolish because I walked the day before getting to the they had us park on 5th South and 2nd East, and then we met at the Radisson, which was on North Temple and 2nd West, and I ran, and then I felt like Saturday I was running as well. Anyway, I'm sort of paraded out for a while, but I'm getting a little old for the walking the parade route.
Oh, geez, yeah. I mean, I've run for office and I've walked parade routes, but when my father was in the Senate, we used to go, and he did the whole parade thing all the time, and I felt like a real big shot because I was around him, and then when I wasn't around him, I was not a big shot.
Yeah, I appreciate that because my kids, of course, they were younger than you, but they all did the parade thing, and they thought it was the funnest thing in the world until the second time I ran, and they're like, Dad, we did that. You're on your own this time.
There you
go. Of course, that year it was COVID, so we didn't have a lot of parades. Anyway, enough of that. It was fun. It was a really interesting weekend, and I got to see the state from different perspectives. The big Days of 47 on Friday, and then Bountiful Handcart Days on Saturday. I would say this, I know we're not supposed to be talking about parades, but we walked with Kevin Eubank.
Oh, yeah.
He was part of our parade route. And it was about probably a mile and a half, maybe a 2-mile walk. I heard his name screamed probably 100 times. I mean, everybody on that route knew him.
He's a rock star.
And not only knew him, but they wanted, like, Kevin, come here. And he was running back and forth. I mean, that guy must have run 10 miles that day. And he was like Elvis. I mean, I thought, I am in the and one person yelled my name, and he said, "See, Skordas, it's the same." I was like, no, it's not even close. And I think it was somebody that owed me money or something. It wasn't like a favorable Skordas, how you doing? But it was interesting just to watch how he was honored, just completely honored on that entire route. He must have some position or something in the community. I don't know. He was a celebrity. I don't know how else to describe it, but I suppose your father had some celebrity status too when he was in the States.
Yeah.
Although as a politician, it's a little different.
He was actually a painfully shy man.
Yeah.
And that was the part of campaigning that he absolutely hated. It was almost physically painful for him.
Oh, really?
To just go out and glad hand everybody.
Yeah, it wasn't his style.
It was just
really
not his style. Yeah.
But you still have to show up. You still have to,
you do
do the thing. Yeah.
You do.
Anyway, well, enough on that. I wanted to talk about something that's come up today. We may have to take this into 2 segments, and that is this notion, Jim, about what we call temporary protected status. And let me just back up a little bit because it's scheduled to expire today, and this is significant for 350,000 Haitians who are living in this country. 350,000. I mean, wow. So in 1990, the Congress passed a law as a part of a huge immigration reform that allowed for the Department of Homeland Security to designate certain countries for what we call temporary protected status. That is to say, if it is dangerous for you to be in your home country, you can come here and live on a temporary status. I mean, TPS, the T means temporary. And you can live here because it's too dangerous for you to live in your home country. Apparently, 1.3 million people are currently in this country under temporary protected status. And no one has really complained about it because they are people who are here on a temporary basis. There's clearly a reason why they shouldn't be in their home country because of turmoil that's going on. Haiti is currently run seemingly by gangs. I mean, it's a terrible place for certain people. Somalia is in the midst of what has been a civil war. They've had other issues, but those people are living here. Well, the Department of Homeland Security, it was Kristi Noem actually when she was in, said, "Look, the temporary protected status doesn't exist anymore for these people. See you later, goodbye." It was just like a stroke of a pen, and Trump then signed an executive order to do that. Now, there are 13 other countries that are sort of hanging by a thread, wondering, could this happen to me? Could this happen to us? 1.3, like I say, million Americans, but this bites off a huge chunk of that because I didn't realize the Haitian population in the United States who are here as temporary protected people represent such a huge part of that. 350,000 people. And interestingly, a lot of the Haitians are here working in the healthcare industry. I mean, a lot of, especially in the Florida area and other parts of the country, they tend to gravitate to that, nurses, medics, that type of thing.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
It's going to be a big loss for that community when you consider that they're going to be expelled. So after Trump issued his executive order, it went to the Supreme Court of the United States, and that was one of the cases that we were waiting for under this present term. And they decided it in June. They decided that the president had the Department of Homeland Security, rather, which is under the president's guidance, had the right to let that temporary status expire for certain groups. I think it's going to be virtually all groups eventually, and that the president's authority was not overbroad, and they upheld his executive order, meaning that we're going to expel 350,000 people almost immediately. I mean, they're expellable, I think, today because the lower courts have given them a stay, like, hey, well, let's get this sorted out, but that stay ends today. 350,000 people.
Well, these are the people that Trump said during the debate that were eating cats and dogs.
Right. Yes, the Haitians.
I mean, they've been a political football for Trump for a very long time here.
I know, and it's sad because a lot of them have done so much good. What concerns me, Jim, and I talk too much about parades. We may have to talk about this again after the after this segment. We'll come back to this, but is what we're going to do to 350,000 people after today, and I mean this in all sincerity. Are we going to find camps for them or detention centers for them to stay while they're waiting to be deported? Because if you can imagine what you're going to do with 350,000 people, that's
a massive relocation.
That's going to be a massive relocation. And I think the government, we're almost out of time, is giving some of them the opportunity to, hey, you're out. You can do this the easy way, the hard way. Leave, and we'll give you a pass and we'll give you a ticket and some money or whatever. Or do it the hard way. We'll hook you up and we'll take you into custody and we'll deport you. I mean, that I think is where we are today. I do want to talk about that more. We're going to talk about something else, but if you don't mind, Jim, I'd like to come back to that after the break.
That'd be great.
I want to get to more on this temporary protected status. We'll continue the discussion after this.
1 in 4 children in Davis County is at risk of going hungry.
Over the weekend, many kids who depend on school meals during the week lose access to regular meals.
Let's make a difference. Let's fight childhood hunger, one pantry pack at a time.
Join Young Caring for Our Young and the Young Automotive Group along with the Bountiful Food Pantry. August 8th at Bountiful City Park from 8 a.m. to noon to donate and assemble pantry packs for our children who face hunger over the weekends.
Learn about the deep impact of food insecurity and discover ways to help all year with this hands-on volunteer experience perfect for families, groups, or individuals.
Feel the warmth of giving oatmeal packets, granola bars, fruit snacks, fruit pouches, individual cracker packets, or even cash donations that directly go towards purchasing food for pantry packs.
Let's fight childhood hunger together. Saturday, August 8th at Bountiful City Park, 8 a.m. to noon.
Learn more at bountifulfoodpantry.org. I'm really interested to hear about how your parents talk to you at home, and how do you think they can kind of break through to you?
It's just to talk about it. It's just seriously it's going to be awkward at first, but if you keep repeating it over and over again, it's just going to feel natural.
Keep going, and soon we'll just be able to talk about it.
Talking about mental health with your teens is the power of we in action. Visit intermountainhealth.org/teen mental health.
Pack a picnic, bring your friends, and meet us in Park City. It's time for the 2026 Deer Valley Music Festival, the summer home of the Utah Symphony. Hear joyful masterworks like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in the Wasatch Mountains. Sing your heart out with iconic performers like Idina Menzel and Lyle Lovett. Relax with concerts under the stars and make new family traditions. Every concert is a chance to experience the best of the Utah Symphony in the beauty of Park City. Concerts will sell out. Get your tickets and plan your visit at DeerValleyMusicFestival.org.
Summertime and the saving is easy at Dave's Bernina in Provo and St. George. Ladies, Dave's Bernina makes it easy for you to own a new Bernina quilting machine.
Big savings on embroidery and sewing machines. Come in and find out about the new products to be released in the upcoming weeks. Special pre-order pricing on the all-new Bernina 790 Ultra, 580 and 495 Liberty editions, and the Bernina 660 and 620 Surgers.
Come in now.
24 to 48 months, 0% interest on specific machine purchases. The Bernina 990, 770 Pro, and 570 are on sale, featuring free accessory bundles worth from $2,900 up to $4,600.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
So have some creative fun this summer.
Dave'sBernina.com.
Great deals on trade-in machines while they last.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
The new Inside Sources.
We're back, and I am alongside Jim Bennett today, and Holly Richardson has taken the week off, to her credit, and she was in the parades with me this weekend, so she's probably exhausted like I am. You know that this is the last thing I'll say about parades, but I kept thinking about that song that they taught us in primary children sang as they walked.
Walked.
Because that's what I did. I walked and walked and walked all weekend long, either getting to the parade beginning or walking through the parade. And then Bountiful, we walked the whole parade route, and then we're done. And they're like, see you later. The float took off at 20 miles an hour. They wouldn't let us ride on it. And so I had to walk all the way back to the beginning, which was interesting. So anyway, I want to follow up, Jim, if you don't mind, on this temporary protected status, because one of the things that they've done is this. The Department of Homeland Security apparently is issuing a program, a sort of a de facto amnesty program that says this: if you will voluntarily leave and not force us to go through the deportation process, you will get a check for $2,600 and a flight ticket out of the country to your home country. I mean, I'm just wondering your initial thoughts about that. They're saying, look, you're all going to be deported, some 300-some thousand Haitians, but if you want to just go voluntarily, we'll give you a check for, I don't know how they arrived at $2,600, but that's what you get, and a free flight home.
Well, that's better than what they're probably planning to do with everybody else.
Right.
But that's not saying anything particularly positive, because you're dealing with, in order to be able to do this, you have to have all of these resources allocated to forcibly relocate 350,000 people.
Right.
I mean, that's just massive. That's unprecedented, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because there are 1.3 million Americans here under temporary protected status, and the administration has already said, okay, we've got Haiti and Somalia. We are now moving to terminate hundreds of thousands from Afghanistan, Cameroon, Honduras, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and other countries. In other words, they're moving to get rid of most of the people who are here, the 1.3 million people here in this country under temporary protected status. And I know a lot of our listeners and a lot of the people that have concerns about the whole immigration process say, well, they weren't here legally. I mean, they are here legally, but their status is ended. It's temporary, and that they knew that coming in, which is all true. I still think that at some point, because some of them have been here not for months or weeks, for years, for decades, some of them, and have assimilated. Some have children in the United States. Some have gotten education.
And they tried to take away the birthright citizenship of those children.
Right. Yes. Right.
Failed,
exactly.
thankfully.
Right.
But.
Yeah. So what do you do when your child is a U.S. citizen, maybe 10, 12 years old, never been to the home country, and you're about to be deported? I mean, that's a tough thing to put a person into.
It absolutely is. And what's terrifying to me, anyway, is that looking at the political situation right now, Donald Trump's approval ratings are in the toilet, and he is, I think, looking for some kind of scapegoat, some kind of political win, and I think his base would just love to see these people deported.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think this is happening out of political expediency as much as anything else, and that makes that even doubly troubling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this is from an administrator from the Florida healthcare system who said this, talking about the Haitians leaving. This is from Florida alone. We are already short-staffed inside a lot of our nursing homes and hospitals. If TPS ends and all of our brothers and sisters have to get deported, it's going to leave our nursing homes and hospitals empty. I mean, it's not like people have come here and said, okay, let's let's get on the public dole and see what we can do. I mean, they did the best they could and worked hard. You would have thought, maybe I'm wrong, that there was some path to citizenship, but I think the way this was enacted was, no, this isn't a path to citizenship. This is a way to help you stay in this country while things in your country are bad, and we can work it out when you're done. There was a lot of Haitians that were here part of the 2010 earthquake. I guess that was significant. Armed conflict, disasters. I mean, there's a lot. Some of these people are saying, I'm dead if I go back home. I mean, it's going to be horrible for me.
Well, so one of the things that I've been very proud of our state for is that when the refugee crisis was burgeoning, Governor Herbert at the time was the only Republican governor that did not demand that refugees not be taken to the state. Utah was one of the only Republican state that was allowing refugees in. And I know that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has done a lot of efforts to invite refugees or to give refugee support. I don't know, this isn't a perfect Venn diagram. There isn't total overlap between refugees and the people under TPS status, but there's a great deal of overlap there. And I just think the kind of humanitarian crisis that this is going to spark is something that I would think Utah's population would be very concerned about.
Yeah. Let me give you a little bit of some information about some of these TPS holders. These are people who are in the country under temporary protected status. 410,000 U.S. citizen adults live in households with at least one TPS member. In other words, they may be married U.S. citizens or have family, or they're here, alongside 390,000 U.S. citizen children. Most of the TPS workers are in the labor force, many of them working in critical industries. 830,000 TPS holders are working, including this: 130,000 in construction, 130,000 in wholesale and retail trades, 120,000 in leisure and hospitality, 110,000 transportation, warehousing, utilities, 110,000 business services, and 85,000 in manufacturing. I mean, that's a lot of people working and doing what they can to support the economy here. They contribute $29 billion in wages to the national gross domestic product, and live in their bigger populations are in Florida, Texas, California, and New York. Whew. I mean, and they're talking to some of these people who are just scared literally to death, scared to death.
Well, the fact that we're talking about forcibly relocating people that are making such huge contributions, I think is a real indictment of us as a nation. Because when we talk about deportation and we talk about using these kinds of solutions to deal with a problem, there should be a problem there. Nobody seems to be able to articulate what the problem is, that how these people are somehow damaging the United States by being here when they are contributing so much. And the only way you can make the argument that they're not is to make things up. Is that whole eating the dogs and the cats, that was for people, Haitian refugees in Ohio, I think. They were in the big population centers. But those are the kinds of stereotypes that this administration is perpetuating.
Yeah, and another thing people have talked about, I don't know whether this is even remotely possible, is some of these individuals filing some sort of application in the courts to stay their proceedings while they apply for citizenship, hoping that they can stay that for 2 years and maybe a new administration comes in and extends the TPS status. But the problem with that is that they'll be held in a detention center during that time. And to some people, they have said, I would rather be in an American prison than go back to my home country where I will be, maybe killed. Who knows? I mean, my life will be different. I mean, so do you sit in American prison with your family for 2 years, hoping that something miraculous will happen, or that you'll be deported anyway, or do you take the $2,600 in an airfare ticket to your home country. And we're talking about the Haitians because they represent the huge sector of the population that's currently undergoing this TPS status, but it applies to Somalians as well. It's a much smaller number.
Well, we don't have the detention facilities to accommodate 350,000 people overnight, do we?
No, we don't. That's another problem. So Congress actually jumped into this thinking, hey, let's do something. And the House directed a bill, this was on some time ago, to extend the status until 2029, but the Senate blocked it. So we don't have that support. And then Trump said he would veto it anyway, and there's no way they're going to get 2/3 support. So that's a done deal. But the House actually passed a bipartisan bill requiring the Department of Homeland Security to redesignate Haiti until 2029, giving them obviously until a new administration comes in after the 2028 election. But the Senate said we don't want anything to do with it, and the White House said don't even bother. We're going to veto it anyway.
So what we're doing here is just manufacturing a huge crisis, because there is no crisis if we allow these people to stay. But if we decide we need to get rid of them, we have to go through this entire process of gathering them up and getting them out of here. And if we're not able to get them sent to their home countries right away, we have to somehow scramble and create ad hoc detention facilities. I mean, this is just an absolutely unnecessary crisis that would be entirely of our own making.
Yeah, and it is. Well, we'll follow up with that. I mean, this is a significant development, and that was coming down the pike. We've known about this for some time, and we've known that we've got to get something done with this. We'll see where it goes. When we come back after the break, from Seattle to Berlin, it turned into a violent weekend around the globe, and we have the latest details on a shooting near the Space Needle and an attack at the Berlin Pride Parade. We'll talk about that after the break.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour: the Department of Energy issued an emergency order to try and ease stress on the power grid across 17 states because of severe heat. The emergency order allows regional power companies to turn on backup generation resources to reduce strain on the power grid. The order, issued Sunday, runs through August 3rd, and it aims to mitigate the risk of blackouts during hot weather conditions. The historic Coachman's Diner and Pancake House sign has finally been removed, but don't worry, it still exists, and it's in the form of a new home. It's in search of a new home, I should say. KSL News Radio's McKenna Rodriguez reports.
Coachman's Dinner and Pancake House has been sitting on State Street for decades. Margaret Coppin is the chair of the Liberty Wells Community Council that is working to preserve the restaurant's famous sign, which she says reminds many people of their memories with the place. Coppin organized a GoFundMe that raised $15,000 to have the sign professionally dismantled so it can later be restored. She says the next step is to find a spot where the sign can live on and remind people of their memories with the place, but also admire it as a unique art piece.
Right now, the sign sits in a storage unit in the Granary District. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Authorities in Germany say the 21-year-old suspect wanted for a vehicle and machete attack at Tiergarten Park in Berlin has been shot and killed after a confrontation with police.
We know that he was arrested in Lebanon last year for trying to join Islamic State. That's according to prosecutors in Germany. So certainly this person has a history of criminal activity and links to those extreme groups.
That's ABC's Britt Clennett on the Start Here podcast. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 194 points to 52,141, and the S&P down 11 points to 7,400. The NASDAQ down 103 points to 24,872. Coming up, find some air conditioning. It's going to be hot. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Are you a local business tired of juggling deliveries, managing drivers, or sending valuable employees across town? There's a better way. Pigeon Ship. For more than 10 years, Pigeon Ship has provided fast, reliable, same-day and next-day delivery services for businesses throughout Utah. Whether you need a few deliveries a day or hundreds, Pigeon Ship has the network, technology, and experience to get it done on time. Auto parts, plumbing supplies, electrical components, pharmacy deliveries, and more. Utah's most successful businesses trust Pigeon Ship to keep their operations moving. Stop the stress of hiring drivers. Stop pulling employees away from their real jobs. And stop worrying about whether your deliveries will arrive on time. Join the thousands of businesses that rely on Pigeon Ship every day for dependable local delivery solutions. Visit pigeonship.com today to schedule a call and see how quickly Pigeon Ship can streamline your delivery operations. Pigeon Ship. Avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. That's pigeonship.com. Pigeonship.com.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Meet Lee Platts, a renter whose possessions fill not only her apartment, but also the darkest corners of a mini storage unit. A land of both truth and fiction. Truth, everything inside is protected by Progressive. Fiction, one day Lee will fit into her clothes from senior year of high school. Renters, discover coverage for what you love and what you can't get rid of in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer. UCCU.com. Let's go back to the traffic center. Cormac Bone.
The disabled RV that was on southbound I-15 at the South Interchange has cleared off the road, so the only slow spot we have left on I-15 is significant. Southbound I-15 from Center Street in Provo all the way down to 1400 North as you get into Springville. That is due to that road construction and repair, and they are still blocking 3 left lanes, so only 2 right lanes getting through, and that's why it's pretty much stop-and-go traffic from Center Street down to 1400 North. Eastbound I-80 just a little slow in that right lane as you approach the US 40 turnoff. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. Highs are going to be in the upper 90s today, but I don't know. We'll see. 98's the forecasted high before 100 degrees forecasted tomorrow. 102 Thursday, 106 Saturday. We'll see how it goes. Right now, it's 90 degrees and mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I noticed, Jim, that you were listening intently to that weather forecast.
Yes.
For good reason.
Yes. Our air conditioner has gone out. Our power has gone out, and we've got a puggle that I put in the basement where it's nice and cool, hopefully.
A puggle being
it's half pug and half beagle.
Okay.
He's a 15-year-old dog, and he's we just love him to death, but he's become kind of the grumpy old man these days.
Living in the basement so he doesn't have to live in the
live in the heat.
Yeah,
so
that's sad. Well, what about you?
Oh, slept in the basement last night as well.
With the puggle. There you go. Well, hopefully you'll get that fixed today. Hey, what a weekend we had here along the Wasatch Front. It was very warm. Like I talked about, the parade was warm. But I want to talk about some things that happened both nationally and internationally in relation to some serious criminal events. These are really troubling, Jim. But in Berlin, German authorities have described what they call an Islamic terror attack. Islamist terror attack. There was a Pride festival going on in Berlin. Celebration was going on. A huge number of people there, and a man drove a van into a crowd, or at least a car into a crowd. If you can imagine a crowd like an LGBTQ event, or just the parade that we had this weekend, and somebody decides to take a car into the crowd. I mean, if you're in the crowd at that time, you're helpless. You're just, you're running, you're doing whatever you can. But I can't even imagine the fear that some of those people must have experienced.
Oh, it must have been absolutely terrifying. I don't know what kind of security they have to be able to prevent that sort of thing, because there was quite a bit of security around the days of 47 here.
Yeah, there seemed to be. Although it was, I have to hand it to the authorities. They were under the cover. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you had armed guards or anything like that.
Didn't feel heavy-handed.
Of course, one of the best parts of the parade were the law enforcement officers on their motorcycles. I mean, there were 4 agencies that did these things. It was incredible. So we had law enforcement, we had military there. But anyway, 29 people were injured. One woman was killed by a man. He was followed later on. He had was sported. So apparently, he had some ties to what they're calling far right groups. Although it doesn't necessarily matter what his ties were. Abdul B, 21-year-old German citizen of Lebanese background, was born in Germany and published some pictures about what he was going to do. And he said he was a member of the Islamic circles in Berlin. Rushed into the crowd. He has since died. It looked like he ran his car into a tree and then he was chased, or that something happened and he was ultimately killed. What a tragic event. I mean, obviously the organizers of the event canceled it immediately. And then closer to home, Seattle Space Needle, there was a shooting there that left 3 dead and 4 wounded. I mean, and this one, it reminds me of a situation that happened at I think it was either in West Valley, or there was another one similarly that happened at the No Kings rally a couple years ago, where the victims were in the line of fire of 2 people that were, going at each other. So the people in Seattle,
they were caught in the crossfire.
Right, exactly. So there was apparently some sort of rival gang that was going on there, and they're shooting at each other. This is just insane, and they kill 3 people and 4 are wounded.
Well, my wife's family is from Port Angeles, Washington, which you catch the ferry from Seattle, and then you drive up past that. But we're going up there actually in about a week for a big family reunion, and that's one of my favorite places on earth. And so that really does sort of hit close to home for me. I know exactly where that is. I know exactly what that would have been like if I had been there, if anybody had been gathered there. It's a public place that is got a lot of traffic and a lot of people that are interested in it, and it's really kind of terrifying that kind of thing can happen.
Yeah, apparently
in a place like that.
Yeah, a food festival. They call it Bite of Seattle, a free event, draws hundreds of thousands of guests every year. But they were all running for their lives as they said it was a shooting that occurred around 6 p.m. at the Seattle Space Needle, and 6 or 7 people were involved, multiple gunshots. All of a sudden, people were running around. 2 people were declared dead at the scene. I thought it was just 1. Another victim died after being taken to a hospital, so 3 died so far. But they were not targets. These were just some groups that were shooting at each other out of all places in a crowded area where if you shoot a gun, somebody's going to get hurt.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, those kinds of events, too, they would be very hard, I think, to provide adequate security to protect from a lone gunman like that.
Yeah, and authorities there have said that one person who they describe as a young person has been taken into custody, a young person. They're searching for a second person who they thought was involved. They said that 2 people were in custody, but later they updated that to just 1. When they say a young person, that tells me it was probably a minor. maybe gang related. You have these 15, 16, 17-year-old kids who are not adults under the criminal justice system, but could be charged as adults if somebody dies. I mean, we have laws like that here in Utah. I assume they do in Washington as well. I mean, just we opened the show talking about the fun we had here in Utah, the events that we had here in Utah, and then people around the country and around the world are celebrating equally exciting events, and something like that happens. And it can happen to anybody.
It absolutely can. And I just, whenever something like this happens, we've almost become kind of inured to it. We just, it used to be when something like this would happen, then you'd have all of this kind of outrage and what do we do? And now we've just kind of sort of shrug our shoulders and say this is just the way the world is. We just have come to accept it. And I don't know that that's acceptable to accept it.
Yeah, and I guess good news, bad news, it hasn't seemed to have prevented people from attending events. I mean, both of these were crowded events, which made it worse in some respects. So people are still getting out. But then, you don't know what's going to happen. And, just that No Kings rally we had here a couple of years ago, Afa Alu, completely innocent, just sitting in the wrong place at the wrong time, gets shot and killed by a person who was shooting at another person. It was just I don't know. Guns, cars used in one instance just caused a lot of problem. But luckily we had a very good, it seemed seemingly safe weekend here along the Wasatch Front. When we come back, I'm interested in your take on this one. I'm dying to hear your take. The White House Correspondents' Dinner got a do-over Friday after the last one was shut down. Remember that the fellow that ran through and a little security break. Anyway, the president didn't take long to get a little weird on it and did a few things that shocked us. Maybe. We'll talk about that after the break.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 25% upfront bonus? And are they promising you up to 9% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. And if you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They aren't. That's up to $25,000 upfront or up to $9,000 per year on $100,000, guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states has Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Murphy's Law says that if your air conditioner is going to break down this summer, it's going to be when you least expect it and at the worst possible time. And for a lot of homeowners, the fear isn't just the breakdown. It's worrying about what happens next. Is this going to cost a fortune? Am I going to be pressured into replacing it? Can somebody just help me figure out what's wrong? At Any Hour Services, that's exactly what we're here for. Maybe your system just needs maintenance to help prevent breakdowns before they happen. Maybe a part failed, and a simple repair gets you back up and running quickly. Or maybe your system's getting older, repairs are adding up, and you think replacing it makes more sense. Whatever the situation, we'll walk you through your options, answer your questions, and make sure you have the information you need to make the decision that's right for your home and your budget. Maintenance, repair, or replacement, you choose what's right for you. That's how Any Hour Services works. Options, not pressure. Call Any Hour Services next time you need help with your air conditioner. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Progressive presents the Museum of You.
We begin our tour with a unique piece, a relic from the early big screen television era. Remarkable. Next, we find a juicer, which historians believe has only ever been used once. And finally, compact discs from the emo era. A rare find indeed.
Some things should be history, but until then you could protect what's important to you and save by bundling your auto insurance with a renter's policy from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and I've been a fan of Hale Center Theater from the very beginning. But there is something about this season that is just off the charts. Maybe it's due to the 3 stages now, which accommodate an amazing variety. Take, for example, showing right now on the Beehive stage, Thornton Wilder's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel and Tony Award-winning play is an absolute must-see. It's Our Town. This is a touching story focusing on 2 families in a small town, the sorrows, the joys, the reflections of lives well lived. And then, coming up, we've got Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. The music, the staging, the pure fun of it makes Joseph an all-time favorite. And in mid-August, it's Moriarty. This is the time for you to lock down your tickets for all of the wonderful productions at Hale Center Theater. And all you have to do is go to hct.org.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Inside Sources.
Well, the White House Correspondents' Dinner got a do-over on Friday following the April event, as you recall, when an armed assailant rushed a Secret Service checkpoint and things got a little awkward. This year, Trump did not hold back his comments. Let's start with how the president started his speech this year. He certainly left nothing on the table.
Picking up right where we left off, so let's have a little bit of fun. You know, I said, what do we do here? Is this supposed to be fun? Am I supposed to be serious? Am I supposed to be a comedian? So I guess you said maybe a little bit of everything. I know one thing, I could never have done the speech that I had ready just a short while. Oh, that was going to be a doozy. I was so psyched. I was going to rip people. And I don't know, just something changed. It's really for the better, but I just wouldn't want to do that. But we'll do a little ripping if you don't mind.
He certainly did that.
He certainly did. He did more than a little ripping.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, he did the one thing that Donald Trump is just terrified of doing, which is he was boring. His speech, it was just tired rehashing of all of his weird little grievances and just petty insults that weren't funny. I mean, he just makes fun of Bruce Springsteen for being ugly. And I thought, who are you? Are you some Adonis?
Right, yeah.
President Trump?
Right.
But you watch it and he's just bombing. He's just absolutely failing as he's up there, and he's deeply and profoundly boring and insulting and really, frankly, embarrassing.
Do you think he cares?
I think he cares that I think people have reported to him that he was bombing, and yeah. I think he sees himself largely as an entertainer.
Yeah,
that's how he measures his impact and his value, is how much outrage he can get. Because after he did this, he went on this tweeting spree where he was posting all these pictures of. He posted, I think we have a clip on this later, but he made a joke about Caitlin, what's her name?
Collins. Yeah.
Caitlin Collins being the spokesman for Bud Light, the transgender spokesman for Bud Light that all of the people got mad about because it was too woke.
Right.
And so he posted a picture of Caitlin Collins with a bunch of Bud Light. You know, and it's like, this isn't funny.
No.
This isn't appropriate.
It wasn't even accurate. It wasn't.
It was just nonsense.
Yeah, he's had an ongoing feud with CNN's Caitlin Collins. She did win an award for excellence in presidential news coverage under deadline pressure, and here's what he said about that.
The speech that I had ready just a short while. Oh, that was going to be a doozy. I was so psyched. I was going to rip people. And I don't know, just something changed. It's really for the better, but...
This is the same one we just did.
I just wouldn't want to do that, but we'll do a little ripping if you don't mind. But I want to personally congratulate CNN's Caitlin Collins on receiving her award It was all about me. It's a fake. She shouldn't get the award. It was a fake, but I didn't mind. I said, Caitlin, congratulations. But it was fake. There's no question about it. But she's a young, attractive woman. She never smiles. I said, Caitlin, do you ever smile? Smile. You have a nice position. You're at CNN Fake News. You should be a happy person. So smile, Caitlin. Just smile. But we attack, and I thought Caitlin had really made it big with a major new sponsorship. But then I informed her that it wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney. And Dylan Mulvaney cost Bud Light $35 billion in market cap.
I have no idea where he's going there.
No, well,
and he wasn't getting a lot of laughs either.
That's the thing that's interesting, because you listen to that opening, and people were still good sports. They were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, and they're chuckling. It wasn't that he was wildly funny at the beginning, but it was, okay, maybe this will be all right.
Right.
By the time he gets to Caitlin Collins as Dylan Mulvaney, that room is dead silent.
Right.
And that has to be just absolute torture for Donald Trump, to be playing to an audience that just isn't responding.
Yeah, and that soundbite did have a little bit of overlap. I appreciate you catching that. We had just a tiny bit, but I wanted to get to the Caitlin Collins part. She actually received her award for her coverage of the confrontation between Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during their Oval Office meeting in February 2025. And she's really a talented reporter under any guise. I don't know. She has a serious demeanor about her. Of course, when you're covering things like that, it's not like a joke. But he kind of chides her, rides her about, you never smile, you never smile, you never smile, as though she's supposed to, as so part of her job as a media person. Anyway, I do think it bothers me a little bit when the president makes personal attacks to individuals, like in their presence, and just, you're this or you're that. I mean, it's really kind of undermines the position a little bit to me.
Well, this is the thing. So when people get mad at me when I start railing on Donald Trump, they assume it's because of my politics, which really haven't changed since I used to work in Republican politics.
Yeah.
What's changed is that we have normalized things that should not be normalized. There was not a president of the United States of any political party prior to Donald Trump that would have stood up and made jokes like that and would have been that just unrelentingly cruel. And now it's acceptable. Now we recognize that this is just the way Trump is, and this is just the way politics is, and it shouldn't be that way. I don't care how you vote or what you believe ideologically. You should have a commitment to basic human decency, and Donald Trump does not.
Do you think, though, I appreciate what you say, and sort of the whole idea that maybe we've changed our outlook. Do you think it's a one-off? Do you think that it's related to the current president, and that maybe next year, or I guess 2 or 3 years from now, we have a J.D. Vance or a Kamala Harris or whoever it happens to be, that we'll be back to more of a normal position? And I mentioned one person from each party, just thinking, well, it's not a Republican or Democrat thing.
Yeah. Well, I go back and forth on that. And I've had people say, oh, you don't want to lose Donald Trump because then you get J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance will be worse. And I always say, I don't think so.
I don't either.
I think J.D. Vance, he may be a terrible president, but I do think he would be a relatively normal president. I always think back to, do you remember P.J. O'Rourke? He was this conservative satirist.
I don't.
Well, anyway, he's since passed away, but in 2016, he voted for Hillary Clinton. He endorsed Hillary Clinton, very conservative. And he said, I'm doing this unironically. I am endorsing Hillary Clinton because she's going to be absolutely wrong about absolutely everything. But she's going to be absolutely wrong about absolutely everything within normal parameters.
Right.
And that is the problem with Donald Trump. I just want normal.
Yeah.
What happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was not normal. And so much of what happens in this presidency simply is not normal. It's not acceptable. There are boundaries that presidents of both parties respected for generations, and Donald Trump has obliterated those.
Yeah. there was another moment that this was Wolf Blitzer was presented the inaugural Katharine Graham Award for Courage and Accountability to the Wall Street Journal reporters for their coverage of Trump's connection to Epstein, which led to the release of the Epstein files. And Trump, of course, was a little uncomfortable with that. He sort of shrugged and looked at reporters and sort of shook their hands. But and Caroline Leavitt, of course, patted him on the shoulder. But it was another one of those moments where you're like, man, he's almost being roasted in some respects at his own event. And maybe that's what the president's supposed to be. But this one was a little bit more biting than you might have in the past.
It wasn't necessarily directed as a sort of roast. It was they had won that award for their coverage.
That's what I mean. Yeah, right.
And, the one that really stood out for me is I don't remember who it was, but the photographer that took that picture, that iconic picture of Donald Trump standing straight, staring into space, as over in the corner of the room, somebody is essentially dying.
Right.
And everybody's gathered around, and Donald Trump is just looking forward, oblivious.
Right.
And I remember
that picture.
I watched that clip where they got that award, and Trump just kind of shrugged, and he wasn't embarrassed. It was just, whatever.
Right.
I mean, I don't think he's capable of embarrassment.
Yeah. It was interesting. At least he did have the event. When we come back in the next segment, we're going to spend a special hour on the Americans with Disabilities Act as it turns 36 years old. We're going to have a lot of time that we want to spend on this and what it's done to our country when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9:30 or 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, firefighters around the country are mourning a fourth firefighter who's died from injuries sustained during a burnover on the Utah-Colorado border that already killed 3 others. A Wildland Firefighter Foundation spokesperson says Nate Matthews had been a wildland firefighter for the past decade and enjoyed skiing in the winter. 4 others were with him fighting the Knowles fire when the burnover happened, killing 3 on the scene. We're working to find out the condition of the 5th. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. If your weekend included a cookout, then you already know how expensive beef has become.
A major reason for soaring beef prices is the ban on imports of Mexican livestock imposed last year to keep the parasitic New World screwworm out of the U.S. cattle herd. The screwworm came anyway and has been detected in 42 animals in 15 Texas counties. Now the U.S. is lifting the cattle import ban in hopes of pushing down beef prices.
That's ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Utah's professional women's softball team won the AUSL championship over the weekend, making them back-to-back champions. Utah Talons beat the Chicago Bandits 6-1 Sunday afternoon to clinch the title. Utah pitcher Montana Fouts went the distance, allowing just 1 run.
I know that. I was not pitching in the game today, but I know Megan, I know Dal, I know Tinsley, and I know George was all ready to go. So honestly, in the back of my head, I just kept fighting each inning. I was like, I'm going to get 1 for the team, and then if it needs to be somebody else, then I'll cheer for them. But just putting my head down and going for them.
Congratulations. You're a 2-time champ. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Go Talons.
Sound courtesy of ESPN. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 92 points, 52,039. The S&P and the NASDAQ are slipping now as chip stocks are being sold off. The NASDAQ's down 100 points to 24,876. The S&P down 13 points to 7398. Coming up, scorching hot. That might even be an understatement. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
For 250 years, America has been built by hardworking people who believe in freedom, family, and community. At Performance Automotive in Bountiful, we're proud to celebrate that legacy during our Freedom to Drive sales event. Join us as we honor our military, first responders, and the families who make Utah strong. Take advantage of special savings, great trade values, and financing opportunities across our inventory. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, 250 years of American pride, and we're just getting started.
Right now, JCW's has 15
bus and billboards depicting our delicious, mouthwatering hamburgers across I-15. We've also just learned that I-15 averages 15 fender benders a day. Probably a coincidence, but just in case, keep your eyes on the road. Here's what our burgers sound like. Now, with your hands at 10 and 2, safely turn into one of our 5 locations in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry is the jewelry we never wear. It sits tucked away in a drawer. A ring from a grandmother, a pendant from years gone by. Pieces filled with stories, but not part of your everyday life. Duke's Jewelers believes those pieces deserve more. For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has helped families reimagine heirloom jewelry, transforming what once was into something you'll love wearing today and pass down tomorrow. Whether it's resetting a stone, redesigning a ring, or creating something entirely new, Duke's Jewelers will guide you through every step, right there in the store. And if you have jewelry that no longer fits your story, Duke's Jewelers also buys gold, offering a simple, transparent way to turn it into something meaningful again. Bring in what you have and create something you'll never want to take off. Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville, where your story continues. As we celebrate America 250, KSL presents Utah Cornerstones, honoring the businesses that built our past and continue to shape our future. Some things in Utah just keep growing stronger with time. What began as a family farm in West Layton, land worked by generations of the Stevenson family, grew into J&J Produce in 1970, serving the community from a simple covered army barracks. Today, J&J Garden Center is Utah's largest producing nursery, with over 100 acres of locally grown trees, plants, flowers, and garden favorites. Through decades of growth, one thing has never changed: their commitment to quality, knowledge, and treating customers like family. Visit J&J Garden Center in Layton and discover why generations of Utah gardeners continue to grow with J&J. J&J Garden Center, rooted in Utah, growing for generations. Utah Cornerstones on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. And Cormac, are we ever going to get a breakdown in Utah County?
It doesn't look like it, Andy, and we had a crash in the backup, too. They've since cleared that off the road, but it is still stop-and-go delays in Utah County, southbound I-15, from Center Street in Provo all the way down to 1400 North, where they are still doing emergency repairs on that on I-15, so it is still just 2 right lanes. The 3 left lanes are still closed as they work to repair the road there as you get into Springville. Otherwise, I-15 has completely cleared up delays-wise, so it's just normal slowdowns to expect. Eastbound on 2100 North in Lehigh, pretty slow from 2300 West over to I-15. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. Only a high of 98 degrees today. I say that because when you see some of the temperatures heading towards the weekend, 98 will feel downright cool. Got a 20% chance of some pop-up storms, 100 tomorrow, and then 104 Friday, 106 on Saturday. Right now it's 90 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside Sources. I am alongside Jim Bennett, who is without an air conditioning unit.
That is correct, yes.
So you're in
Thanks
the
for the
studio
reminder.
Today, right? The studio is comfortable. Enjoy it while you can.
It is lovely.
Hopefully you'll get that up to speed eventually. We are going to spend this next hour talking about the Americans with Disabilities Act because it turned 36 years old yesterday. Can you believe? I mean, I remember when it came into being, I wouldn't have thought it was that long ago, but 36 years.
Well, I remember just vaguely how amazed people were that it was passed in the first Bush administration, that this was not considered something that the Republicans were. But George H.W. Bush touted this as one of his signature accomplishments.
Oh, really? I didn't remember that. 36 years ago, Bush was in Yeah. That's interesting. Well, to start off this hour, we want to start with a conversation that I had with our own Holly Richardson, who has a couple of kids, at least two, with special needs. And she shares her personal perspective on what's been improved, what hasn't, and the work that still needs to be done when we're dealing with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Here's what Holly and I talked about the other day. Holly, have you noticed with respect to your kids and some that have various disabilities that accommodations, for example, what the American for Disabilities Act have put in place have made a difference?
I think it's a little bit hard to say because we still see some of the struggles that exist. So when our first daughter, she was our second child, but our first daughter was born in 1988. That was before it was even passed, which is still wild to me. And she was born with really severe disabilities, and that kind of just upended our whole life, right? We entered a whole new world that we just didn't really know anything about. But even navigating wheelchair accessibility, for example. So we still have a son who's in a wheelchair. He's 31. There are places he cannot go because it is not wheelchair accessible. It just isn't. And even if you were pushing a child in a stroller, for example, having those the ability, right, to have the dips on the curb so that you can cross the street makes such a difference. And I think people just take it for granted until they run up into a need that they need these accommodations. I want to just share, we've talked about downsizing, my husband and I. And just as I drive around the neighborhood, our house, we've been there for 23 years. It has been kind of retrofitted, if you will, to be wheelchair accessible. It's not perfect. But as I drive around my neighborhood, all of those houses are 20 years old. They're new builds since we moved in. Not a single one could my son get in the front door. Not a single one. They all have stairs, right? And I realize these are residential houses. I appreciate accommodations in places, but we've been places still where they have one elevator to get to the second floor and it's broken.
Yeah.
Well, then my son can't go to the wedding reception on the second floor.
Right. But I mean, you have to admit that it's better than it was 30 years ago.
Sure.
Before the ADA.
Sure, it's better than it was before, but I think still there are still places where you run into difficulty. And one of the things that I'm super concerned about right now with today's political environment is it just feels like some of these accommodations, the way we talk about people with disabilities, the disability rights, those are being stripped away. And I know there are people who are really, really worried, like that they're going to lose the ability to care for their child, or, you know, some of the other programs that we have in place for kids. We were able to find good resources when the kids went to school and they needed different accommodations, and just a variety. So some with mental health, some with physical disabilities, some with learning disabilities. There's all kinds of different types of accommodations that have been beneficial for our family, for sure.
I just have to talk just personally for a minute, because in November I fractured my pelvis, and I was really quite disabled, and it was temporary for me, and I hadn't appreciated it, but I had a walker.
Yeah.
And I just remember coming into this building and having the ramp and being able to keep the walker on the ground and not have to lift up stairs, because I couldn't do stairs.
Yeah.
But I could push the walker on the ramp, and it was awkward. You know, it had a sharp 180-degree turn. But everything I did, this building, I guess, is new enough and built well enough that it had, for me at least, all the accommodations, and it made me think, we need to make sure all buildings are set up like this. But to your point, they're just not.
And again, it's better than it was, but even things like my son can't go do activities with people his age because a lot of times they go to places that don't accommodate his wheelchair. They'll do it at somebody's house and he can't get in the house. Or there's just a variety of things that he can't, places he can't go. So we're going to go camping. In fact, by the time this airs, we'll be camping. We have to go places where it's paved, basically, so that he can have his wheelchair there, and we need accessibility to restrooms where it's big enough to take a wheelchair in. Not all of them are. So we have to make sure that we make those types of decisions too.
Does he ever use public transportation? Because I noticed that we have certain buses that do have accommodating features, but many more probably that don't, and I just don't know
He
whether.
very rarely does. Very, very rarely. So we're
because
his
of
public we're his transportation. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so
it's
you've
difficult.
had to purchase special vehicle with.
We have a lift. We have a larger vehicle with a lift on the back, and we would love a wheelchair van at some point, but those things are really, really pricey. So we don't have that right now. But look, I just want people to be aware that being a parent of a child with disabilities, your eyeballs are opened in different ways. I know ours were. Like we see things that I think just when you're going about your normal day, you don't think about. But when you have a child in a wheelchair, or you have a child who has a prosthetic leg and can't walk the same way that other people can, or just a variety of different things, it's like, oh, now I see there really is a need, and a need for people to be not only accommodating but kind.
Yeah, I just one last question, because some of us that have been around since the ADA feel like it's all worked out well, but maybe we've become complacent as a country, and when we're building things because maybe we're not as accommodating as we probably should be.
I think we do become complacent, and it's like you have one elevator, so that meets the requirement, but the elevator's out of service and doesn't work. We find that with the pool in our local area. They have a wheelchair lift so that my son can get in the pool. It doesn't work all the time, and then he literally can't get in the pool because he can't get out.
Yeah, interesting thoughts. Thanks, Holly.
Yeah.
I really thought that was telling. I expected a little bit different take from her, Jim, that she would have been more complimentary, and she wasn't uncomplimentary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, but I think her message was one that I didn't expect, and that is that it doesn't go far enough, and in some respects it's not even being enacted the way it was supposed to.
Well, we've dealt with this. We have a daughter that has a spinal cord injury, although I don't think she faces the same kind of challenges that Holly does, but in being involved in that sort of thing, I can understand there are a lot of complex feelings there, and it's difficult to navigate a family with disabilities, and so I really appreciate her perspective on that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. When we come back after the break, we're going to get a different perspective on how the law has changed because of the Americans with Disabilities Act when we come back.
4 weeks may sound like a long time, but it really is not. Not when it comes to the amount of change you can have through Soda Diet and Nutrition in just 4 weeks.
4 weeks. And Soda is doing something amazing. I don't think they've ever done this before, Andy.
I can't think of it.
They're giving away 4 weeks for free. So just think about this. By, around the end of summer, you could have drastic change. You'll feel better in your clothes. You'll have more energy. You'll be sleeping better, all because of Soda.
Healthier, more confident, free from chasing an expensive fix because it doesn't involve any drugs. It doesn't involve anything crazy. It's just relearning how to eat and working step by step with a degreed nutritionist who guides you the entire way.
I lost 37 pounds in 3 months. You lost how much?
70 pounds in 5 months.
Get 4 weeks for free. Just call 866-800-SODA and mention KSL.
Or go to SOTA, S-O-T-A, dietandnutrition.com because Soda is, say it with me, Amanda,
state of the art.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house. Whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
You've waited all year for this moment. Make sure you're prepared when you finally draw back. At Shields, we're right there with you. We have the expertise and premium gear hunters need to gain the edge. Right now, till August 2nd, our hunting sale event is on with savings on the best gear. And if you're a Shields Visa card member, you'll earn extra points on every Shields purchase. Gain the edge you're looking for and save this season at Shields.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $3 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they helped me. They calmed me down. They made me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, Doug, what is it that you do? 'Cause Everybody's buying a car from you. Hey, Doug.
Doug Smith Subaru is a proud recipient of the 2026 Subaru Love Promise Heart Award. Come find out why at Doug Smith Subaru in American Fork.
Hey, Doug.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, let's continue our coverage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It is 36 years old as of yesterday. I want to talk about how the law has changed. And so we have with us Nate Krippus with the Disability Law Center of Utah. Nate, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us from your perspective, and Holly, we just talked with Holly about maybe it could go a little further. How have things changed, and are they still changing? Are there still is the ADA movement at all?
I've done this a few years now. That's why you're here. And I get asked, right. and I come do these every now and then. I feel like I always come in and I'm a little bit dour. There's still so many problems because what we see at the Disability Law Center is we get all the calls when things go wrong, right? Like nobody calls us on their best day, and so. I think, from my perspective, I think the ADA is a wonderful law. I think it has made great improvements. I think beyond just for people with disabilities. I mean, door openers, right? Like we all love those automatic door openers when they exist. Like there are things that have made the world more accessible to everyone. And so I think it has done a lot. But I think, there are still problems and there are still people coming out saying we should, do away with pieces of it. I think one of the big things we've looked at is, the ADA really has enabled community integration, allowed people with disabilities to live, work, and receive services in integrated settings in the community. And I think there are people who push back on that and want to go back to institutionalization and things of that nature. So I think the ADA has certainly done a lot. I know they made the Amendments Act, I think in 2008 they passed, kind of make some of the changes, improvements. Do I think we could do more? Certainly. I always say the ADA is a floor. That's what we should achieve just at the bare minimum. But there's so much more we could do, and I think we should be having more and more conversations about what we can do to expand on the ADA and not ways to kind of undercut it, which I think is often the conversation I hear from elected officials.
Well, is that the current political environment? Is essentially people are looking at ways to undercut it?
We're hearing that, yeah. I mean, the Department of Justice just put out an opinion that said, so in 1999 there was a Supreme Court case called Olmstead v. LC that just said that people with disabilities, the unnecessary institutionalization of people with disabilities is segregation and thus a violation of the ADA. And the DOJ just came out with a memo saying we don't think that's the interpretation we would have, and kind of wanting to roll that back a little bit. And so I think you are seeing some efforts to undercut it. There's efforts to say, you need to give businesses 6 months to fix the problem before you can file a lawsuit. And I understand a business gets a letter saying, hey, you're in violation, or they get sued and they're frustrated. But 36 years, right? We've had 36 years of the ADA existing. I think people should be notified that they need to make things accessible. And so I think there are conversations that is some of the climate we hear is kind of attacks on the ADA. But again, I was, as I was saying, kind of we were chatting before, we're also coming up on a big anniversary of Medicaid. And I think you can't do a lot of, you can't provide community-based services for people with disabilities without Medicaid. And there are attacks on that as well. And so I think that there are a lot of challenges, I think, still with trying to make sure that people with disabilities have equal access to things. So,
yeah, Nate, my experience as an attorney with the Disability Law Center has been very favorable, and I appreciate your existence. I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate that I can refer people to you who have concerns. It seems like some of what you do is almost like watchdog work. When people contact me and other lawyers and we can refer them to you, it's because things aren't happening that maybe should be happening under the ADA.
Certainly. I think we view ourselves as a watchdog. I mean, part of the reason, so we're what is known as a protection and advocacy agency. Every state and territory has an organization like ours. We're federally mandated to exist. And part of our role is to be a watchdog, to monitor for abuse and neglect. I mean, we were created because back in the I think it was the 70s, a young reporter at the time, and you two are old enough to know who this is, Geraldo Rivera. Whenever I tell interns,
he's still around.
He is, but when I tell interns about him, something like these 20-year-old kids, they just stare at me like, who who was? And
the guy who opened Al Capone's vault.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought everyone knew.
Nothing.
For nothing.
But he went to an institution in upstate New York and saw some deplorable conditions and highlighted that on TV, and Congress saw that and said, oh, we need a network of people to kind of make sure that this isn't happening. And so, part of our role is to go into facilities, institutions, and make sure that people are safe. But yeah, I mean, we get a lot of calls about, employment discrimination, housing discrimination, people trying to go to a business with a service animal and they're denied, or they need an interpreter, an ASL interpreter, and that is denied. And so, a lot of kids in special education not getting the services they need. I think one thing we could certainly do in this state is better fund our special education and provide that. And again, that's a different. We have the IDEA as well, right? Where there's a lot of laws out there that protect the rights of people with disabilities, and I hope we can keep celebrating all of those and avoid some of the attacks we're hearing.
Well, if you were king for a day, what would you add to the ADA? What's the one thing that you think is the biggest hole that needs to be filled?
That is such a good question. What would I fix? I feel like I should have prepared for this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm trying like that's honestly. I mean, I think the hard part is I think the ADA actually did. One thing I probably would do is make it a little easier for enforcement. Because I think the way the ADA was designed, particularly under Title III, which kind of covers private businesses, the public accommodations as we call them, they didn't really build an enforcement mechanism in there. They just relied on the private bar. And the way they did that was that you can get attorney's fees if you take a case and you prevail, and that's great. I'm all for that. But I think they're more like under Title I, you have the EEOC, a federal agency you can go to with some of those concerns, and obviously it's an administrative exhaustion and things of that nature that take some time, but ultimately it gives you a place to go. And I think sometimes when it comes to a private entity violating the ADA, a person has to find a lawyer to really have a remedy rather than being able to go to a place. I would like to see maybe some type of some way to make enforcement a little easier for people, and not necessarily lawsuits, just a place you could go to resolve, because a lot of these can be resolved so quickly. Sometimes we write a letter, right? We write a letter and say, hey, don't do that anymore. That's the violation of the ADA, and half the time the business goes, oh, we didn't realize. And we'll fix that and we'll do that. And some of it's just education. And so I think, a big part of it just would be an easier enforcement mechanism, I think, for just everyday folks, I think would make it a little easier.
I think a lot of people think of the ADA when they walk into a building and then assume that there's sort of wheelchair accessible access. And as I recall, and I may be wrong, Nate, you can correct me, but of course 36 years later it may change anyway, but it was sort of prospective. Like if you're building something, you have to accommodate, but buildings that were already in place, I don't know if they had a time to get up to speed, or if they just, hey, you grandfathered into the old ways. But it seems like there are still some places that are not as accessible as they maybe could be.
Certainly, and I think that is a barrier. So yes, it was more perspective, saying when you're building new, you have to kind of do this. The standard for old buildings is readily achievable. And what is that? Lawyers love words that are sound really, really, like they mean something. Like what is readily achievable?
Right.
And so I think that is a bit of the challenge if you have a building. We had this come up in a case years ago I had with a movie theater there wasn't a theater that was accessible, but they looked into but the theater was built like in the 80s, and so it was pre-ADA, and what could they do? And they realized in order to make this take out these stairs and make a ramp that was actually met the standard, they would have to rip out a whole bathroom and do everything. And they're like, we don't think that is required. And ultimately, I mean, you could fight about that all day. But they found a way to just actually then rotate movies into theaters that were accessible to kind of meet the needs of the clients who needed to get in there, which I think works, right? But so I think that was the tough one, right? Where is that readily achievable? Should a theater have to rip out its whole bathroom in order to make one particular theater accessible? I don't know if that's what the ADA requires. I mean, should it? Perhaps. But I think what it does say is you have to find a way to make it accessible, and they did for this particular individual was make sure that movie that he or she, I don't remember, wanted to see kind of came into a particular theater that they could get into. So yes, it is perspective, but I think there is a standard for kind of those old buildings having to. But yeah, I mean you're going to run into that you see old buildings all over the city, and if it's pre 36 years ago, and honestly I think it was 1992 was the date when you kind of had to start doing those things after, and then the new standards in 2008 I think had to be anything built after 2012 has to look a little bit different as well, and so I think certainly as we progress it will get better, but older buildings, older, just it's a challenge.
Well, I used to run a theater in Jackson Hole, Wyoming that was on the second floor of a shopping center, and it was grandfathered in from the ADA. Yeah. And I think it really hurt us because, we would get a lot of people, we'd get a lot of seniors that wanted to come see these shows, and they just wouldn't climb the stairs. And we didn't have the money to rip it out and do all of that. But I just think there are so many benefits to businesses when they comply with the ADA.
I mean, certainly. I think, you think of, automatic door openers or anything of that nature. I mean, those are great for not just people with disabilities. I mean, you're a parent with a stroller or a delivery person with a bunch of packages. Like, those come in real handy, right? So I think accessibility features are important and needed for the disability community, but I think they can just make things better. And honestly, you think about, a two-story building. I mean, disability is one of those categories we're all going to enter potentially one point in our lives, right? I mean, aging in place, we all want to do that. And as we get older, we're going to need some of those accessibility features. And I think people should really think about that kind of, as they're kind of, what am I going to need at some point? So
we've only got about a minute left, Nate, but it hit me close to home. And it usually does when I get injured myself. And I fractured my pelvis in November, and I was literally on a walker. And I thought, how am I going to get to my office? And I was grateful that we had accommodation. I mean, it hit very close to home, and I guess some people kind of need to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I think you don't doing this for now 11 years. I mean, the things I've learned, the things I just didn't even know, the things I've come to understand, and I think that's why I think it's so important that we fund special education and get if you can get the kids kind of in classrooms with each other. I think being around the disability community really helps you build some understanding, and I think that's just really important to kind of how we improve things moving forward.
All right. Well, thanks. That was Nate Krippis with the Disability Law Center of Utah. And keep up the good work, Nate. And thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
And our next segment on the ADA turning 36, we're going to speak with USU's Institute for Disability Research, Policy, and Practice on the current challenges facing those with disabilities and the work that still needs to be done. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, meteorologists warning people to find air conditioning, look for shade, and drink plenty of water as a major heat wave hits the Wasatch Front.
Through Tuesday, the daytime highs are in the upper 90s. However, National Weather Service meteorologist Brittany Whitlam says it's the overnight lows in the 80s that are causing the most concern.
That's pretty unseasonable for us, given we've had a lot of cloud cover, so it's just been keeping those warmer temperatures overnight, which is, again, exacerbated those heat impacts across the region.
Whitlam says this is up to 15 degrees over normal average temperatures. While the heat advisory is in effect, she says to stay in air-conditioned rooms if possible and check in on the elderly and the unhoused. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
The Department of Energy issued an emergency order to try and ease stress on the power grid across 17 states because of severe heat. The emergency order allows regional power companies to turn on backup generation resources to reduce strain on the power grid. The order issued Sunday runs through August 3rd, and it aims to mitigate the risk of blackouts during hot weather conditions. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. There are 99 days until the midterm elections.
A weekend court ruling means states that sued the Trump administration don't have to follow an executive order of his that makes the Postal Service create a list of approved voters. The First Circuit Court of Appeals says the Constitution stipulates states are responsible for elections, not the feds. The ruling affects the 23 states that sued, all run by Democrats. The other 27 states are not covered. Not clear if the Postal Service will carry out Trump's order in those red states. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 225 points to 52,167. The S&P up just a fraction to 74.16, and the NASDAQ down 15 points to 24,959. Coming up, well, we've been talking about that heat. Today's probably the coolest of the next 7. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Most families get their financial advice in pieces. A financial advisor here, a CPA there, an estate attorney somewhere else. Everyone means well, but nobody's talking to each other, and those gaps can work against you. Trajan Wealth's family office brings wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning together, not as separate conversations, but as one coordinated system built around your life, your goals, and the people who matter most. Ours is a true family office, not one that refers you out because it's convenient. This kind of dedicated collaboration used to require a 7-figure net worth, but here's the game changer. Trajan kicked that door open. Trajan advisors are fiduciaries, always obligated, always honored to act in your best interest. Unlock your Trajan family office at TrajanWealth.com or call 1-855-TRAJAN-1. That's 1-855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep.
And Doug.
Hot dog! Get your hot dog!
Customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Hey, what are you doing?
I like your method. Direct. To the point. A little loud, but...
Listen, people don't buy car insurance the same way they do hot dogs.
Not yet, but both are customizable.
Popcorn! Get your popcorn!
Hey, this is a hot dog area.
And customize and save area. Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local agent.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
It's still trouble in Utah County on southbound I-15. Those slowdowns, stop-and-go traffic really starting at Center Street, reaching all the way down to 1400 North just before you get into Springville. Still just 2 right lanes getting through, 3 right lanes closed as they try to repair that road up. Otherwise, though, I-15 not looking too bad. We do have a little bit of southbound delays on South 15 at 7200 South in Midvale. That might be residual after what looked like a controlled slowdown to me, but that quickly cleared off the road. I-80 through Parley's Canyon, no delays both directions. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast, high of 98 today. That's the coolest of the next 7 in the forecast. A few pop-up storms could hit. 100 tomorrow, 99 Wednesday, and then 102, 104, 106 possible on Saturday. Right now it's 91 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Of course, you know by now that I'm joined this morning by Jim Bennett, who is filling in for Holly. We want to finish and continue our conversation with the Americans with Disabilities Act. 36 years old yesterday, and we have in studio somebody who probably wasn't born when it was enacted 36 years ago.
Oh, I definitely was born.
Okay. Matthew Wappett, he's the Executive Director of the Utah State University Institute for Disability Research, Policy, and Practice. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, you are welcome. So glad to know I look younger than
you look really young. Good for you. So talk to us about your field of study and what you do. I mean, it seems really interesting to me.
Yeah, so I work, like you said, at the Utah State University Institute for Disability Research, Policy, and Practice, a very long name. We are what is known as a UCED, a UCEDD, a University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. So very much like Nate, who you had in here earlier from the Disability Law Center, we are a federally designated entity that's attached to a state university, and our job is to do education, research, and service around people with disabilities. So, and we're a sister agency to the Disability Law Center. The Disability Law Center does the enforcement and more the legal side of disability policy. We do more of the research, education, training side of it. And so we work very closely together, and work here in the state of Utah, but unlike the Disability Law Center, the UCED, we work nationwide. Actually, last year we worked in 36 different states. So.
Well, I was really interested. We were talking before this started, where you said you still teach one class.
Yes.
And the title of the class is "What is Normal?"
What is normal? Yes.
That's fascinating to me. Can you sort of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, we take for granted this concept of normalcy, and we all judge ourselves against this abstract notion, and we define ourselves, am I normal enough, right? And so this class, and really the whole concept of disability is defined against this concept of normal. And so, this class is really an introduction to disability studies, and we look at where did the idea of normal come from, and how has it evolved and changed over time, and then, how does it affect the way that we behave and think and, create programs for people with disabilities. So anyway, it's a very interesting topic. That's why I keep teaching, because I enjoy talking about that stuff.
But that just figures into the whole disability idea.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. So I have a daughter that suffered a spinal cord injury when she was 14 years old. She's not particularly disabled. She can walk with forearm crutches. But we've spent an awful lot of time as she sort of learned how to accommodate that. She's since gone on. I'm very proud of her. She's a PM&R doctor in Chicago now, which is the same kind of doctor that helped her after her injury.
Yep.
But I think so many people don't recognize or don't just see how much is going on behind the scenes with regard to accommodating people with disabilities.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And it's something that I don't completely understand. I mean, your last guest brought this up, but disability is the most universal human experience outside of birth and death. We're all going to have a disability at some point, whether it's temporary, permanent, whatever. And yet we still seem to live our lives and create buildings, programs, whatever, on this assumption that everyone's going to have 2 working legs, 2 working arms, 2 working eyes, right? And that's just not the reality. And yet we still live in a world where we assume that, there is this notion of what a normal human being is, and if you fall outside of that, life's going to be harder for you. So, it is interesting.
Matthew, I think one of the things you talked about that the Institute does is training.
Yeah.
To whom?
Oh, we train everybody from pre-service folks, so folks who are in college, right, going into, say, speech-language pathology or going into special education. But we also, I would say the vast majority of our training are for professionals who are out in the field. So we do a lot of continuing education training for, in-service special education teachers or for disability service providers. There's a whole bunch of fields that intersect with disability, and we really work on building sort of that professional capacity of the folks who are working in the community.
Training on understanding the ADA.
Some of it is
the understanding their populace.
The range of training goes everything from like assistive technology. So what sort of technologies are out there to help people with disabilities to right policy stuff. So we will train on the ADA. We do a lot of training on the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. We do training on evidence-based practices. So, what are some of the best practices, that actually have research behind them that are effective for serving, say, right, people with autism or people with ADHD or whatever. So it really spans the gamut. One of the big areas that we train in is digital accessibility. And a lot of people assume accessibility is just physical, right? It's ramps and elevators and things like that.
Right.
As we've moved into a more virtual world, digital accessibility has become increasingly more important. And so, websites and stuff are not always accessible for people with visual impairments or other disabilities. Oh. Yeah, and so we actually have a program at the Institute called WebAIM. They're actually the national leaders in digital accessibility, and we train thousands of people every year on, right, how do you create websites that are accessible, that are navigable for people who are blind or people, right, who might have other impairments. And so, it really spans the, from birth to death to technology to low-tech solutions. I mean, I think last year, I'm actually just doing our federal reporting now. I think we trained 250,000 people. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's a big reach.
Well, as a professor, if you had to give a letter grade to the country or to the state as to how we're doing with the American Disabilities Act, what would your verdict be?
Well, are you talking country or state?
State.
Okay, state of Utah. I would say as the state, we're average. We're a C. Do we have the basics in place? Yes. Could we do better? Absolutely. I've worked in many other states, and it was interesting for me to come back to Utah in 2017 and recognize that, Utah's a little farther behind in some of our disability programs than even the surrounding states here in the Intermountain West.
Oh, so what would the national grade be then?
Oh,
that's a little harder. I guess.
That's a little harder because there is a wide variability between states. This is one of the interesting things with disability policy is, yes, there's a national policy like the ADA, but different states, right, enforce it and implement it differently. And so you have states that are really, really good, and you have states that are really, really bad. But I mean, I would say as a nation, we're probay maybe a B minus.
Minus. There you go.
I mean, and we're slipping. I mean, we are slipping. I would say that especially over the last couple of years, we've seen lots of pushes towards more segregated programs, and we've seen a lot of disability programs targeted for elimination and stuff under the DOJ cuts and everything because they were lumped together with DEI.
Right.
And so I would say, over the last couple of years, we've seen our progress in the disability realm slip a little bit. Yeah. So.
Sad. Well, thanks for joining us, Matthew.
Yeah.
That was Matthew Wappa, the Executive Director of the Utah State University Institute for Disability Research, Policy, and Practice.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back.
Having me. Yep.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. And I was thinking the other day, Monty, that every water softener I've ever seen has a giant tank that holds bags and bags of water softener salt. Well, except one, the one I have in my home. And I picture this, my Connecticut has the little salt tank about the size of a paper shredder or a small trash can.
Well, Doug, that's because the Connecticut water softeners use so much less salt, an average of 70% less than other water softeners. So you don't need a tank that holds 6 or 8 bags of salt.
I love the fact that it's so easy to fill because I don't have to lift those bags up so high, and it seems like those bags of salt, well, they're getting heavier every year.
Yes, it does. When you're using 1 bag of salt for every 3 a regular water softener uses, there's no need for a large salt tank.
Tired of lifting those heavy salt bags to fill your giant water softener salt tank? Go to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
There's nothing like getting outside, moving, and enjoying time with friends. Utah offers endless ways to get outdoors and stay active. Pickleball, hiking, biking, and more. Staying healthy is fun if you do it safely. Intermountain Health recommends taking time to stretch, warm up, stay hydrated, and pace yourself. These small steps keep activities safe and enjoyable for everyone. Because when you make health and safety part of every activity, you're taking care of what matters most: your life, your health.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you spend half your day walking or standing while working? If you have foot, knee, or back problems, the Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Tony.
Pain that I experience the most is foot pain from being on my feet all day. You're having to kind of talk to yourself through the whole shift, like, I got this, I can do this. Before, I felt defeated, and now it's like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. A whole new life, like sunshine coming on.
And how about working more comfortably, like Dennis?
Working at an amusement park, it's always on your feet. I just couldn't take it, but I didn't have a choice. I just couldn't believe that putting these arch supports in made that much of a difference that quickly. I could do my job and I could take care of my family. I know what my tomorrow's gonna be. It's gonna be positive.
You deserve a better life too. Stop in the Good Feet store today. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. But at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited everything for just $35 a line. That's $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data. Switch to the carrier ranked #1 in network coverage and customer satisfaction and get unlimited everything for just $35 a month. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit Consumer Cellular online or in-store today. Price includes $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes and fees apply. Data speeds reduced after 35 gigabytes. Rankings done by 2025 ACSI survey.
Doug. Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons. And lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen. And oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live. And you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We're taking a little pivot here from our expected show because Matthew Wappett is here with us. He's the executive director of the Utah State University Institute of Disability Research, Policy, and Practice. And you left me hanging. So I have to ask you a couple more questions. And so thanks for sticking around with us. But tell us this, in terms of the work that you do and the community that you serve, how has the current political environment in the last several years in this country changed, if at all, how people with disabilities are being treated?
It's become increasingly difficult. And I kind of mentioned this on break. I've been working in this field for about 25 years. And, you know, I always felt like we were making progress. And over the last 2 years, I feel like we've actually gone backwards in many ways. If we go all the way back to last year with the DOGE cuts, a lot of programs that were targeted were DEI related or disability related programs. In fact, the Institute there at Utah State were mostly funded through grants and contracts. We lost $3 million in grants that were serving people with disabilities because they were considered to be DEI related, but they were actually delivering direct services to people with disabilities. And so we're seeing programs getting cut. We're seeing deadlines around enforcement. So the enforcement of the digital accessibility requirements of the ADA was kicked down the road. It was supposed to come into effect in April. And those were sort of kicked down the road and said, oh, those aren't important. We're not going to enforce those. And Nate, your last guest, actually brought this up just a couple of weeks ago. The Department of Justice released a statement that said that we don't think that people with disabilities have a right to live within the community, and segregated settings, right, being institutionalized might be, right, the most appropriate place. And so we see a move back to sort of this institutional model that was predominant up through the 1970s. And so, yeah, it's an interesting time to be working in this field.
Isn't that the curse? May you live in interesting times.
Exactly.
Well, but disability accommodations really don't overlap with DEI, do they?
That's
or they
where,
shouldn't.
I mean, they technically disability policy, federal disability policy is civil rights. And so it is built upon the foundation of civil rights legislation. And so there is an overlap there, I think. The difference, though, as I mentioned earlier, is that disability is a universal human experience. And so it's not like it's targeting one specific, right, population group. ADA accommodations at some point could benefit all of us. And so it's a little bit differently. You think about it a little bit different. But yes, it is based upon a civil rights foundation. In fact, if you go back and read Brown versus Board of Education, right? The lawsuit that opened up, that desegregated our public ed system. In the dissenting opinion, there's a line in there, and I'm trying to remember, I can't remember who wrote it, but there's a line in Brown versus Board that says, if we allow, right, black students into our schools, the next thing you know, we'll have to let handicapped students in. And
that was an argument
happened.
against it.
That was an argument against it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And so, and that happened. Yeah, 1972, right? We passed IDEA, and all of a sudden we have, right, special education and students with disabilities in our schools. And so there is a very close connection between civil rights legislation and disability rights policy. So
when you talked about cuts to the budget, this $3 million, was that related to research?
Most of it was actually service and training programs. There was, I'm trying to think, there was no research on our end that was cut, but it was training. So there was a training program where we were training rural healthcare providers and supporting mental health. Yeah, that was cut. Our AmeriCorps program, we had an AmeriCorps Vista program where we put AmeriCorps volunteers out to work in the community with disability providers and others. That was cut. And so, yeah, they were mostly service or training programs.
Well, in a lot of the DOJ cuts, though, they were restored when they realized just how deeply they had cut and what a mess they had made.
Yeah, and our AmeriCorps program was restored, but the others were not. So in the end, we lost about $3 million total. Yeah, although the AmeriCorps program that's like $120,000 a year, so it's a pretty small program. But yeah, a lot of the cuts in the disability field were permanent and were not restored.
The state, in light of what we're talking about, has sort of stood up to the plate and reestablished some funding. I don't know whether the Utah legislature has much of an appetite for the disability community, or whether they've been able to fill in some of these gaps, or whether if there's even some conversation about that.
There is always conversation about that in the legislature, and I think there's some remarkable advocates in the legislature. I think the hard part with disability policy is that most of it is federal, right? And then the states are responding to federal mandates. So the ADA is a federal policy that the state's required to comply with. Medicaid, which serves a lot of people with disabilities, is a federal, right, policy that the state buys into. And so it's an interesting dance here in the West where, right, we have more of a local control sort of, right, we don't like those feds out there. But you've got to kind of balance that with the fact that most of these programs are federal programs. And so I would say the legislature walks a fine line. There's some incredible advocates, and I think we are moving in the right direction. I think there's a lot more that we can do. I mean, the fact that we have, about 6,000 people on a wait list to get Medicaid services here in the state is ridiculous. I mean, we have the longest wait list for disability services of any Western state because we haven't put the money towards it to serve these people. Yeah.
Well, I don't understand how disability rights can be a partisan football. I don't understand why this should be partisan in any way, because Republicans and Democrats, as you talk about, they're both going to deal with this at some point in their lives. All of us are.
And historically, it hasn't been a partisan issue. And I would say it's probably not. The problem is that a lot of the programs that serve people with disabilities have become partisan footballs, like Medicaid, right? Medicare, these sort of things. They have become partisan issues that then brings politics into it. But, you go back to the ADA itself, right? The two sponsors, Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy. I mean, this was reaching across the aisle, working together to get a policy in place that was going to benefit everybody. And historically, it has been a bipartisan issue. But again, as times have changed, we've seen creep in which side of the aisle is more willing to address some of these issues. So, yeah,
you're clearly very, very good at what you do, and you must like it. What do you enjoy about what you're doing right now? Because I have to be honest, I'd never heard of the Institute for Disability Research, Policy, and Practice, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that it makes perfect sense. It means we got to do a better job at marketing, though, if you hadn't heard about it. No, what I like about what I do is that I can see that it makes a difference. And, the research that we do, it's not just research for the sake of research. It's research that's actually helping to inform programs that makes people's lives better. Every time I get to go out and train or do whatever, I'm training people, and I know that they're going to walk away better prepared to serve the people that they work with. And so, it is something that allows me to see a tangible difference in the world. And so that's why I do what I do.
I think that's just absolutely wonderful. I feel like I know a whole lot more than before you came in, so I'm really grateful for that.
It seems like a lot of people don't understand and appreciate what you do, though, and you're being out there and being able to educate a seemingly broad range of people must make a big difference.
Yeah. Well, no, and I appreciate that, and it's not an easy job, but someone's got to do it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. That was Matthew Wappett, the Executive Director of the Utah State University Institute for Disability Research, Policy, and Practice. Jim, I was frankly nervous about this hour, thinking how we're going to fill it. And I'm glad that Matthew stick around with us because we could have spent an hour with him alone. It was incredible. That was very valuable. Well, when we come back after the break, it's been a quiet couple days in the Middle East as the U.S. and Iran refrain from striking each other. With this pause, can the U.S. and Iran take the off-ramp? We'll discuss that when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Brianna Willis. KSL's top story this hour. A Nibley man has been arrested for domestic violence after SWAT team negotiations. KSL News Radio's Isabella Sosa reports.
Court documents say Abraham Quesada threatened his mom in her home yesterday near 3805 South 100 West. She told deputies she let him move in to help with bills, but told him to leave after she says he did not contribute, which is when he turned aggressive. Deputies found that he had an active felony warrant for his arrest on domestic violence charges and was armed. A Cache County SWAT team responded and arrested him on suspicion of domestic violence, possession of meth, possession of a firearm by a restricted person, and fugitive from justice.
Quesada has been booked into Cache County Jail. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will visit the U.S. this week. He'll be meeting with President Trump at the White House to discuss the war in Iran. He'll also attend the funeral for Senator Lindsey Graham.
Benjamin Netanyahu told a radio interviewer that he was in tatters upon hearing the news. Netanyahu called Lindsey Graham a great friend of Israel and a great personal friend of mine. Lindsey Graham, over his decades in Congress, was a consistent and dependable supporter of the U.S.-Israel alliance, a defender of it across administrations of both parties. There are others who share that view on Capitol Hill, but you might say that Lindsey Graham was one of the most outspoken supporters of Israel in the Congress.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 112 points. Coming up, more highs in the 100s. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Well, it's official. My friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with unlimited data. And because they're my friends, they trust me. As for the rest of you, well, Pure Talk understands that even though you might like me, you're not just going to take my word for it, nor should you. For that reason, and for a very limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited plan that normally sells for $65 a month. Think of it like a test drive, a super simple way to save $150 while you kick the tires on Pure Talk's blazing fast network, and a fine way to see for yourself why I switched from Big Wireless, along with a few 100,000 of my closest friends. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and be connected to Pure Talk's friendly U.S. customer service team. Again, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
Are you a local business tired of juggling deliveries, managing drivers, or sending valuable employees across town? There's a better way. Pigeon Ship. For more than 10 years, Pigeon Ship has provided fast, reliable, same-day and next-day delivery services for businesses throughout Utah. Whether you need a few deliveries a day or hundreds, Pigeon Ship has the network, technology, and experience to get it done on time. Auto parts, plumbing supplies, electrical components, pharmacy deliveries, and more. Utah's most successful businesses trust Pigeon Ship to keep their operations moving. Stop the stress of hiring drivers. Stop pulling employees away from their real jobs. And stop worrying about whether your deliveries will arrive on time. Join the thousands of businesses that rely on Pigeon Ship every day for dependable local delivery solutions. Visit pigeonship.com today to schedule a call and see how quickly Pigeon Ship can streamline your delivery operations. Pigeon Ship. Avoid the trip. Pigeon Ship. That's pigeonship.com. Pigeonship.com.
Life doesn't slow down. It evolves. And the best chapters, well, they're still ahead. Introducing Let's Get Moving, presented by Ovation Homes, a brand new Sunday morning show designed to inspire your next step forward. Join KSL's Maria Chaleos alongside Ovation Homes' Amber Wickstra as they explore what it really means to live with purpose, from strengthening your body and mind to discovering new passions, creating beautiful, functional living spaces, building healthy communities, and finding balance in your finances, family, and future. In addition, glean insight from timely guest experts, bringing real-life experience and valuable advice you don't want to miss. This isn't about slowing down. It's about moving forward with meaningful conversations, practical ideas, and inspiration you can actually use to create a life and home you truly love. Because your best years start at Ovation Homes. Start your Sunday morning inspired from 5:30 to 6:30 on KSL.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Still just stop-and-go traffic on southbound I-15, starting at Center Street in Provo, reaching all the way down to 1400 North as you get into Springville. And that is due to the repairing of that buckled road that happened later yesterday. Still only 2 right lanes getting through, so it's very slow as you get into Springville on South 15. Otherwise, though, roadways looking very normal for the midday. Just some regular delays to expect. Eastbound on 2100 North in Lehigh, some scattered slowdowns between Redwood Road and I-15. Ready to upgrade your kitchen? Visit one of Bedrock Quartz' modern showrooms or request a quote at bedrockquartz.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Right now it's partly cloudy and 91 degrees. I'm Brianna Willis from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, this is the gift that keeps on giving and sort of the moving target, Jim, which is what we're doing in Iran, because it seems like every Monday we get here.
We win the war every Monday, don't we?
Yeah, we've won most Mondays. We've won, or else we've reinstated the war.
Right.
It's one or the other. Well, this week we're hearing that the U.S. has paused its airstrikes after nearly 2 weeks of we're bombing again, and talks are hopefully going toward a return to maybe stopping this what would look like an all-out war that was on the brink of occurring.
Well, it's just, I don't know which of the late night guys was saying something like, Trump definitely deserves the Nobel Peace Prize because he stopped the Iran war over 100 times.
Right. Yes.
He declares victory and says it's over. And then, of course, it's not over, and it keeps going. And it just seems so obvious to me that Donald Trump just wants this to go away. He thought magically it was going to be finished with a big night of bombing, and we kill the leaders, and it's all over, and regime change will magically happen. And, of course, that didn't happen, and there's no strategy. There's no long-term thinking. I'm not sure he's capable of thinking strategically. He just sort of acts on impulse, and I think this is just driving him crazy because it's absolutely one of the main things dragging his approval ratings down.
Yeah, here's more from ABC's Matt Rivers and Amon Jordan on the Start Here podcast.
We have paused military operations against Iran, and the Iranians have done the same. It's now been more than 2 days that we've seen without any strikes going back and forth between both countries after the better part of 2 weeks of both of those countries trading lethal strikes. So, the question is, why is that happening? Well, what's clear is that there is some diplomacy going on. We heard from the ambassador for the U.S. to the UN, Mike Walls, go on several Sunday shows yesterday talking about how this pause, which he acknowledged is happening, is to give some diplomacy a chance. But there's also this reporting out from the New York Times that suggests that one of the reasons that the U.S. has stood down from some of its attacks were because of this depleting stockpile of Patriot interceptor missiles that are so crucial to warding off and protecting U.S. personnel and assets in this part of the world from those Iranian drone attacks.
And wouldn't that be something if, in fact, the reason that we're standing down is because we
don't have enough
we're
stuff
trying
to
to
shoot at 'em.
reload, right? That there's not enough. I mean, that surprised me, but I'd heard that in other sources that our stockpile, because of course, the military sort of blaming it on Ukraine, that we'd given up a lot of our weaponry and whatnot there, and the stockpile's deleted right now. I know that our Minister of War has asked for gajillion dollars to try to build it back up again, but that's even if he received the money, we're not going to build it back up in the
overnight.
next week or two, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the short-sightedness of the administration here, in that to accomplish what they want to accomplish, you really do need boots on the ground, which is one of the reasons why the United States hasn't attacked like this before now, because the cost of doing something like this, the human cost, is just astronomical. And again, they just think if you bomb them enough, that's going to fix everything. And very clearly, that's just not the case.
Yeah, and we're looking at the News Nation report right now that Iran is saying we now control the Strait of Hormuz. They've stopped a number of vehicles from going through there, and a lot of the other Gulf states are saying let's try to work something else out. I know that the Trump administration is not going to be the least bit happy if Iran comes out and says we control the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, why even go down that road? Why even say that? Because all you're doing is poking the bear.
Well, I mean, but this is the thing: is that the memorandum of understanding that we signed, thinking that was the end of the war, and of course it wasn't, and everything blew up again. But essentially tried to restore the status quo from before the war started. We're talking about, well, what do we do in order to be able to control the Strait of Hormuz, or to remove Iranian control from the Strait of Hormuz? Well, Iran did not control the Strait of Hormuz before the war started.
Right. That's
We're trying very, with all of the time and treasure and blood that has been spilt to achieve this goal, we just seem to be aiming towards restoring the status quo from before it started.
So I'm wondering this, and I know it's maybe more of a rhetorical than other question. Why? I mean, we're clearly at war.
Yeah.
And Congress can come in and say, we're not funding this anymore. Or they can come in and do something, but they're not. They just don't seem to. They talk about it. Our own Senator Curtis has said, boy, we need to do something, and I'm interested in maybe having some action on this war. Democrats certainly will do what they could, but the Republicans just don't have an appetite to end this war or to do something or to intervene, I guess is the better word.
Well, the House voted to end the war, and I think it was 4 Republicans
right.
that sided with the Democrats. But but that's almost a symbolic vote because they were able to do that knowing that the Senate isn't going to take it up.
And the president would veto it anyway.
The president will veto it anyway, and they're nowhere close to any kind of a veto-proof majority on that.
Yeah, and we're hearing that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is traveling to Washington today to meet with President Trump. I don't know if that doesn't signal to me a positive step toward resolving the conflict, at least with the Iranians.
No, most of the observers that have looked at this has said that Benjamin Netanyahu has been lobbying the United States to do this under a number of different administrations, and the other administrations have been savvy enough to recognize that that's not a good idea. Trump is not, and Trump was not. And so the closer we are to Netanyahu on this, I think that means the war is going to continue.
Yeah, and it's not in Israel's best interest for us to make peace with Iran. It concerns me a little bit that we've been striking some nuclear deals with other
Saudi Arabia particularly,
Saudi Arabia, and I didn't realize we already had one with the United Arab Emirates. It seemed like we'd had some sort of deal in place so that they could develop an energy program or something like that. But now with the Saudis, and I don't know what message that says to the Iranians. I mean, that can't be when we're saying, hey, what kind of deal with these two neighbors, but you can't have any toys.
Well, as Trump was scrambling to get any kind of a deal, and somebody pointed out that the MOU that we signed allowed them to keep anti-ballistic missiles, and Trump's response was, well, if the other countries have them, then it's not fair that Iran doesn't have some.
Right, yeah.
But, I mean, what kind there's just there's no consistency, there's no through line, there's no logic to any of this. And now it just seems, let's do whatever we possibly can to get this out of the way before the midterms. That seems to be all that Trump wants to do. I don't think there's any strategic interest in any kind of a specific outcome beyond this just needs to get out of the news cycle so that Republicans aren't going to get completely destroyed.
And they're pushing it pretty hard. And maybe go back to the of all things the Obama arrangement, which Trump
keeps trashing,
right, yes.
and which succeeded so far beyond anything Trump has done here.
Yeah, interesting. Well, that when it's newsworthy that it's been 2 full days since bombing, that's not a good sign. But it is 2 days, and I guess it's better than than we're still in the process of bombing. So I'm sure we'll have a lot more on that in the days to come. Well, next, a report has found that while Utah has fewer people under what they call correctional control, which means incarcerated or currently getting services through probation or parole in the nation, is spending more per inmate than neighboring states. We're going to dig into a report on why this matters when we come back.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and I've been a fan of Hale Center Theater from the very beginning. But there is something about this season that is just off the charts. Maybe it's due to the 3 stages now, which accommodate an amazing variety. Take, for example, showing right now on the Beehive stage, Thornton Wilder's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel and Tony Award-winning play is an absolute must-see. It's Our Town. This is a touching story focusing on 2 families in a small town, the sorrows, the joys, the reflections of lives well lived. And then, coming up, we've got Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. The music, the staging, the pure fun of it makes Joseph an all-time favorite. And in mid-August, it's Moriarty. This is the time for you to lock down your tickets for all of the wonderful productions at Hale Center Theater. And all you have to do is go to hct.org.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS isn't slowing down. And the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions of Americans that owe back taxes to the IRS. Unfortunately, they're the world's most powerful collection agency, with the ability to garnish your wages, seize your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. But don't be stressed or worried any longer. We're Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. We have resolved over $3 billion in tax debt for our clients. Our award-winning professionals deal with the IRS every single day, protecting our clients and preparing them for the best possible resolution. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, give Optima a call today.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
I'm really interested to hear about how your parents talk to you at home, and how do you think they can kind of break through to you?
It's just to talk about it. It's just seriously it's going to be awkward at first. But if you keep repeating it over and over again, it's just going to feel natural.
Keep going, and soon we'll just be able to talk about it.
Talking about mental health with your teens is the power of we in action. Visit intermountainhealth.org/teen mental health.
Inside Sources.
Well, this is something that's really interesting to me, Jim, but Utah is trying to lower its criminal recidivism rate, as you might expect. But part of the report that I'm looking at here, and we're going to talk with Bridger Bill Svetko from KSL.com in just a minute, says that Utah has less people under what we call correctional control, which means either in jail or prison or under probation or parole, and maybe Bridger can help us with that. But that's the good news. The bad news is we spend more per inmate than a lot of neighboring states.
Oh, that's interesting. I used to work for a nonprofit where we were trying to drive down the recidivism rate by teaching a cognitive behavioral model. And I was stunned that recidivism is as high as it is. I don't think people realize that recidivism, that the rate was somewhere around 70 to 80%.
Yeah, it's a scary number. Well, let's bring Bridger in. Bridger, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So your article is a few days old, but I looked at it and I thought, I got to get this guy on the show here to talk to us about this. Tell us what you found and what Utah's doing right now.
Yeah, so this is a report that was published just over a week ago now by the Utah Foundation, looking at recidivism, like you mentioned, and specifically comparing Utah to other states, trying to identify some areas where we can be better. What was interesting to me is that it's kind of hard to track across states because there's a few different definitions. What counts as recidivism? I think we all kind of know what that means, but when you drill down into it, it's a little harder to determine. So different states have different measures. And Utah has kind of codified a statute just a couple of years ago to actually define what recidivism is. And so they're hoping that will make it easier to just track across different agencies in different states and kind of identify areas that are working and areas that need some improvement.
Well, so do people know what recidivism is? How does Utah define recidivism? Yeah,
so Utah's is, it's codified as someone who recommits another offense. And
within a certain time frame, right?
It goes to prison. Not the type of thing that if you break the law but you don't go to jail, or if you get a technical violation of parole or something, that does not count. It basically has to be a new offense within several years of getting out of prison on that first offense.
Bridger, I remember about 30 years ago being part of a group that brought the drug court concept to Utah. And one of the things that we touted at the time was that it did decrease the recidivism rate. And I'm wondering, not just related to drug court, but have there been any findings that, in fact, rates of recidivism are getting better in Utah over the last several decades?
Yeah, over the last decade, our recidivism rate has ticked down slightly based on this new measure that we have. It's about 18%, I think, right now, kind of based on that baseline report. That was about 19% several years ago. And like you mentioned, the drug court is a good example. I didn't get into it in the article as much, but the report singled out the drug court and other specialty courts as ways that have improved things in Utah, where you can find someone who has a specific problem, get them help to address that, and kind of rehabilitate them during the time that they're incarcerated, so that hopefully when they leave, they're kind of prepared with the skills to not fall into some of those same patterns. So that was a highlight that they said that has helped in Utah, and that has made a difference over the years.
Did you say the recidivism rate in Utah is around 18%?
I think so. Let me make sure.
That seems like an incredibly good number.
Yeah, it does.
I guess
I was sitting there going, "Oof, I really overshot."
Right.
Yeah, and well, what's kind of interesting is that that's people that have committed a new offense. Right. So there are some people who get out of prison and then return to prison because they broke their parole or they violated, had a technical violation. And Utah is one of the states that has the highest number of people that are incarcerated for one of those technical parole violations that aren't a new crime. So that actually doesn't count in our current definition of recidivism, even though they do end up back in prison. And so it's one of the nuances that we do have a lot of people in prison who haven't technically reoffended, but they're back for violating their parole or some other technical part of their release.
Well, so how long has that new definition been in place then? Is that fairly recent?
Yeah, the state codified it in 2023, I think. And before, there were a few different agencies had slightly different definitions. Some of them were tracking that technical violation rate. And so that's the kind of new blanket standard across the state government.
Bridger, I was looking at one number, among others, that were in your article, and that is that just over 900 Utahns are under some form of correctional control out of every 100,000. And nationally, that number is something like 1,668. It's almost double the number of people that are under correctional control. That seems like we're doing something right here in Utah.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And the report highlighted that, again, looking at some of those drug courts, some programs that, in Utah, a lot of offenders, when they're incarcerated, they start on a plan, a program to start planning for when they're released. It credited these as things that are driving down that rate. But as far as the number of people that are, like you mentioned, incarcerated or, out on release, on bail, on parole, or on probation, we are much, much lower than the national average and much lower than a lot of neighboring states. So we're doing something right there.
Well, do you have information as to which sort of jail diversion programs or other sorts of things like this are most effective?
Yeah, it didn't mention a ton of specifics on everything, but it highlighted a couple of other states that are doing things really well. I think South Carolina and Oklahoma were ones that, similar to Utah, they put people in a program that's really specific, that's tailored to them. And that was maybe, I don't know if you could say it's a recommendation, but something that Utah could maybe do better is, kind of enhancing those programs when somebody comes into the criminal justice system, really tailoring a strategy, working with, mental health professionals, substance use disorder, that kind of things, making a really tailored plan to help people get out. So there's really a step-by-step path for them to get back on a right path and not reoffend.
Bridger, there's another couple of numbers I want to ask you about that are maybe a little bit concerning. Nationally, the average that is spent on an inmate per year is $57,000. In Utah, that number is $79,000. That's substantially higher, almost 30-40% higher. Do we have any idea why that is? Or the authorities in Utah explain that at all?
Yeah, according to this report, it didn't really get into all of those specific details. Part of it might actually be the fact that we have a lower rate of people who are incarcerated in Utah compared to other states. That sounds somewhat counterintuitive, but there are certain costs as far as, maintaining the prison, maintaining jails, that regardless of how many people are in the system, you have those costs. And so us having a lower number of people in the system could actually make the, per resident cost be a little bit higher because that's a lower number. Those programs that, those diversion programs, other things like that can be expensive. So those could also play into that as well. But those are just some possible factors into why that number is so high.
Well, in terms of cost-benefit analysis then, the amount of money that you're spending to be able to try to keep them out of jail versus the amount of money that a higher recidivism rate would cost. Do you guys have any hard numbers to compare that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's definitely whenever someone's incarcerated, it's a cost to the state. And one report recently, a study estimated that there's $10 of social costs for every dollar spent on someone being in the criminal justice system, being in the corrections system. And so that's, lost wages for that person, lost economic opportunities for their families, lots of different costs that are spread around. So, that's part of the reason why getting recidivism rates down is important, because, not only are we spending less as a state to incarcerate people, but hopefully, those social costs to those individuals and their families and the rest of society, it doesn't place as much of a burden on everyone else.
Thanks, Bridger. That was Bridger Beal-Svetko from KSL.com. And I wanted to follow up with something, Jim, and that was really very helpful. He mentions a couple times drug court and the drug court concept. And I mean, I'm you're not going to take credit for it, but I just want to say that I felt like I was part of bringing that concept to Utah, and it has been a good concept. I mean, I think we brought it in like 95. Really, our first graduates were 96 or 97. And I actually started a nonprofit to help the drug court graduates, because what we learned as it relates to recidivism is that when people are in drug court or these specialty courts Bridger talked about, and I think we could easily expand those, they do really well. They're with peers, they're talking, they're working things out. But as they get out in the system again and they're out dealing with their old friends and their old colleagues, it's just hard to break out of some of that cycle. And we're talking more just reusing drugs, not necessarily recidivism as it relates to getting back in the criminal justice system, I should say, but just, being free of drugs, and then you're back out on the street and then you're using them again. But we thought we needed to keep this going, keep the conversation going, keep the camaraderie going, and we found that it's been really helpful. But I think that part of it is peer-to-peer work with some of these people, that if you got to look in the eyes of somebody that's in your same shoes, maybe you're less likely to get back onto drugs.
No, I think that's absolutely right. That in the research we did, it's the follow-up that really matters.
Right.
If you have a mentor, if you have somebody that's there rooting for you, you're going to do a whole lot better.
Yeah. Well, thanks. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about a man from West Jordan who's accused of setting a fire that evacuated a popular Utah County campground. He's got court tomorrow. We're going to break down the latest on what to expect and what his charges are when we come back.
Good morning. It is 8:30 or 11:30 at KSL News Radio. KSL's top story this hour. The wildland firefighting community is mourning the loss of a fourth firefighter who died from the same burnover incident, killed 3 others at the Utah-Colorado border. Nate Matthews died from burn injuries he got while working with a group of 4 others sent to fight the Knowles Fire last month. Wildland Firefighter Foundation member Burke Miner says Matthews' death is a major blow to the community.
Nate's been on the back of their minds, the whole community, while they're out doing their work right now, and it just doesn't get any worse.
Miner says Matthews was from Lincoln, Nebraska, and had been a wildland firefighter for 10 years, working fires in the summer and enjoying skiing in the winter. If you're driving to the airport anytime soon, beware. UDOT is closing 3 off-ramps on I-215, including the exit toward the airport, starting tomorrow night. They'll remain closed for more than a month. That includes the northbound I-215 off-ramp to Redwood Road, I-80 westbound, and I-80 eastbound. UDOT says it's important so they get the maintenance and the roads and the bridges. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Health officials are trying to contain a salmonella outbreak.
The FDA says almost 100 people got sick with salmonella across 17 states, and eggs are the likely source of that. Midwest Poultry Services issued a voluntary recall of eggs sold at Kroger and other stores.
ABC's Elizabeth Schulze reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up slightly at 52,006. S&P and NASDAQ both down a little. Coming up, if you think it's hot now, just wait. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 11:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Jeff Kaplan here with Bonnie from Salt Lake City Fat Loss. Bonnie, tell us why Salt Lake City Fat Loss is the preferred weight loss program in Utah versus other weight loss programs that offer pills or injections.
Our program is the #1 natural alternative to drugs or injections, and for those who want to lose fat and not muscle. People are spending hundreds of dollars on these injections that are giving them slower weight loss, where our program is a fraction of the cost and they're losing twice the amount of weight.
Can people lose weight fast on the program?
Most of our clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two, but the biggest thing is they're learning the skills to keep the weight off.
What are some of the things about the program that sets it apart from other weight loss programs?
It's very easy to follow, and we use regular grocery store foods. There's no heavy exercising required, and you get a personal health coach to help you every step of the way.
I chose the SLC Fat Loss Program along with 70,000 people across the U.S. It's offered exclusively in Utah at Salt Lake City Fat Loss. Schedule your free consultation online at slcfatloss.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-8157. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-8157. That's 800-575-8157.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This is Colin Curie from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Still looking at big delays in Utah County southbound I-15 due to road damage and emergency repairs about 1400 north in Springville. Traffic is backed up to the S-curves. Also, we have reports of a crash. This is in the American Fork area, northbound I-15, or I'm sorry, actually southbound I-15, just south of Lehigh's Main Street. Not seeing any delays there. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, the high today will be 98 degrees, but that will feel cooler than the temperatures next weekend, which could hit 106. Monsoonal moisture will shut off after Wednesday. Right now, it is 97 degrees under partly cloudy skies. I'm Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio from the Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, before we talk about the fire starter, I want to talk about a firefighter. This is something that's really concerning, Jim. But over the weekend, a fourth firefighter died in an incident that killed 3 others in the Utah-Colorado border. The wildland firefighting community is mourning the loss of a fourth firefighter who died at the same burnover unit that killed 3 others on the Utah-Colorado border. Wildland firefighter Nate Matthews died from burn injuries he got while working with a group of others set to fight the Knowles fire last month, and the 3 died at the scene. We're working to get to get an update on the others. I mean, this is just awful.
That's just tragic, and our heart goes out to him and to his family.
And we had heard we had one of the fire mitigation experts come and talk to us about these firefighters. They get in these areas where there's a fire, and they call it a burnover, where you're fighting the fire, and suddenly it blows over you, and you're surrounded by the fire. So the fire is no longer in your front, and so there's nowhere to go. And they have these things that they carry, which is really they describe it like a thing you put a baked potato in, just this big sort of, almost like a metallic shield that you put on just for whatever you can. You're in that situation, you cover yourself with this like a sleeping bag that's metallic in nature. I'm not describing it very well. That's supposed to shield off as much heat as possible, but you still have to breathe. You still have oxygen's your problem at that point. And a fourth firefighter has died. These fires take a huge toll. It's just tragic, especially because I work on the ski patrol on the weekend, and a lot of our patrollers they do firefighting in the summer, and they do ski patrolling in the summer, and they do that. They do firefighting in the summer and ski patrolling in the winter, but they do that because they like the adventure. They like saving lives. They like doing good things. They don't do it for money, that's for sure. And they're in harm's way all the time. But it's an interesting community, and I've met a lot of them, and I know a lot of them, and they really do care a lot about the community and care about what they're doing.
Well, so how long have you been doing ski patrol?
42 years.
42 years.
I've done that for a long time. Some people don't know that about me, but it's something I do on the weekends. I worked at Park City for 30 years, and I just finished my 12th year at Powder Mountain. Just a weekender. I'm a pro now. I get paid because they want us to work a couple days a week, but it's been a lot of fun. But I also want to talk to you about this, just kind of a pivot here, of staying with the fire, but talking about someone who's accused of starting a fire. I don't know if you recall, but in July there were a series of fires started up in, I think it was American Fork Canyon, Timpanoogie campground up there, and there was a fire started on July 5th, July 14th, July 20th, and the surveillance cameras sort of were targeting a specific person who they thought was starting these fires, and they actually talked to some of the people there. But it's a phenomena that I'll never understand any more than any of the other people that I deal with in my legal community. Why you would start a fire, like what it is about a person. But this person is accused of 3 counts of arson because of 3 different events. And it's not like a shoplifting. It's not like a misdemeanor. It's a very serious crime.
And this was intentional. I mean, he didn't just, they weren't setting off fireworks and things got out of control or anything.
Which is a great question, because that's under the law, we sort of look at a person's mindset. We call it their mens rea. And if you do an act intentionally, you're punished more severely than if you do something recklessly. So there is a crime called reckless burning or reckless endangerment, which is the sort of the sloppy putting out your fire when you shouldn't, or dragging your chains when you know better, or shooting off fireworks at a time you shouldn't be, shooting your gun, that type of thing. Those things can start a fire. And if you do create a fire under those circumstances, you can be responsible criminally and civilly. You could pay the cost of mitigation for somebody to go put it out. But if you start the fire intentionally, it's a much more serious crime. And so in this individual's case, his name is Conrad Jared Larson, and he's presumed innocent, but he's charged with arson, and arson is a crime that's punishable under several categories, and I don't want to bore everybody with the details, but if you think about property crimes, and arson is in one respect a property crime. Property crimes are punishable by the value of the property. In other words, stealing a pack of cigarettes is not as serious as stealing a car because of the value. The same is true with arson. So in this case, he's charged with arson causing $5,000 or more in damage, which is the highest level of arson, makes it a second-degree felony. It carries 1 to 15 years in prison. Arson is also punishable by the danger that you cause to people. So if you're starting a brush fire in your neighborhood just to make everybody mad, that's one thing. But if you're starting a fire that causes damage to a house, you know what I mean? That's significantly different. So he's also charged with arson endangering human life because apparently there were it was an open campground and he did some things there where people were around and close by. So it wasn't like an arson of a house. It would have been much more serious. But he's charged with 3 counts, carrying up to total between the 3 charges up to 25 years in prison.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's serious.
Well, can you get charged for attempted murder if you set off?
Absolutely.
Start a fire?
Yeah. So right. If you're, let's say a spouse is upset at their spouse, and so they lock them in,
set fire to the
house or something like that. That's absolutely could be an attempted murder, and it also could be an arson. You could be charged with both crimes theoretically, but the arson, which created a great risk of death to human life, and therefore it's also an attempted murder. Absolutely, it is. So in his case, it's not that serious, but they did find, or at least they're charging. This is in the 4th District Court. I said he's from West Jordan, which is true, but the crimes were committed in Utah County. But he did start a fire in an area where people congregate, a campground, a designated spot. So in that respect, they did say, well, he at least puts people's lives in danger, whether it was intentional or not.
I don't understand why anybody would do that.
Yeah, he's charged with 3 counts. Now, like I say, they're serious charges, but they're not like off the charts serious. They're felonies. He's got an initial appearance tomorrow. That means his first appearance, and it's at 8:30 in the morning. I'm certainly going to ask for bail, and the county attorneys down there in Utah County, Jim, have said, we don't think he should get out because he's a continued threat. Now, these are kind of more people crimes than property crimes, or more property crimes than people crimes, although there's some overlap here. So the judge might, be concerned about whether or not she can set no bail. But if the judge decides that he poses a continued risk, a continued threat, that he's just doesn't get it, he just continues to set fires, and that there's no other way to keep him from doing that except by holding him in the Utah County Jail, which, by the way, is one of the better jails if you're going to sit. But she may end up holding him. But so he's got the reason we're talking about this because he's got court tomorrow morning at 8:30, and the judge will almost certainly address bail and set other conditions. But these are serious crimes, and he may have a prior history. I don't know, but usually arsonists don't just get caught their first time. You know what I mean? It's one of those crimes like DUI and so many others that you just,
or you kind of build up to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, when we come back after the break, meteorologists are warning people to find air conditioning. I guess you didn't need to hear that, did you?
Yes, I've been very mindful of it.
And drink plenty of water as a part of a major heat wave that's hitting the Wasatch Front. Boy, is that news. We'll get into why overnight temperatures are causing the greatest concern when we come back.
1 in 4 children in Davis County is at risk of going hungry.
Over the weekend, many kids who depend on school meals during the week lose access to regular meals.
Let's make a difference. Let's fight childhood hunger 1 pantry pack at a time.
Join Young Caring for Our Young and the Young Automotive Group along with the Bountiful Food Pantry. August 8th at Bountiful City Park from 8 a.m. to noon to donate and assemble pantry packs for our children who face hunger over the weekends.
Learn about the deep impact of food insecurity and discover ways to help all year with this hands-on volunteer experience perfect for families, groups, or individuals.
Feel the warmth of giving oatmeal packets, granola bars, fruit snacks, fruit pouches, individual cracker packets, or even cash donations that directly go towards purchasing food for pantry packs.
Let's fight childhood hunger together. Saturday, August 8th at Bountiful City Park, 8 a.m. to noon.
Learn more at bountifulfoodpantry.org.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Did you know Utah State University is home to one of the nation's leading centers for disability research and advocacy? At the Institute for Disability Research Policy and Practice, we work side by side with Utahns with disabilities, their families, and community partners to make our state more accessible and inclusive for everyone. Our researchers, educators, and advocates partner with family service providers and policymakers to create real, lasting change. We believe that everyone deserves a chance to live, learn, work, and play in our communities. From helping children reach their potential in early intervention programs, to building accessible technologies, to improving mental health and employment supports, our work touches every corner of the state. The Institute for Disability Research, Policy, and Practice is the only disability-focused research center in the state of Utah. That means we're Utah's home for innovation, data-driven policy, and community solutions that make life better for people with disabilities. Find us at idrpp.usu.edu.
Wait, everything on this IHOP value menu is just $6?
I told you it was amazing. A huge plate of pancakes, bacon, and eggs is just $6.
Wow.
There's also French toast, a ham and cheese omelet, and oh, they got a BLT and fries now.
Okay, we're coming here every day.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Feast for just $6 with the IHOP value menu. $7 in some locations, available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
From the people who brought you It's the Dog Park comes.
It's a hot spot on your dog's leg. But the internet says you can treat it at home. You're not sure though, 'cause now it's oozing.
Protect your dog from injury and illness with Progressive Pet Insurance.
Ooh, he's licking it. Super gross, dude.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Coverage subject to policy terms.
On Thursday, August 13th, the Orrin G. Hatch Foundation will honor United States Senator John Barrasso with the Titan of Public Service Award at the Grand America Hotel in Salt Lake City. Enjoy an unforgettable evening celebrating distinguished public service, featuring an exclusive conversation with Senator Barrasso and a special performance by renowned pianist Steven Nelson. Seats are limited, so reserve your tickets today at OrrinHatchFoundation.org. That's ORRIN Hatchfoundation.org.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Fidelity Investments is a leading provider of financial services. The company offers investment, wealth management, and technology solutions for individuals, families, employers, and institutions. Director of Government Relations and Public Affairs Alex Yannick joins us with more.
This year, Fidelity Investments celebrates 40 years in Utah, reflecting a long history of growth in the Beehive State. Since opening in 1986, we've continued to expand our operations in downtown Salt Lake City while supporting the local economy and community. In addition to employing over 3,500 associates in Utah, we serve 1 in 5 Utahns through a range of financial services offerings. Our impact extends beyond our offices through Fidelity Cares, our associate volunteer program, which is celebrating its 30th year. Through this program, our associates volunteer in communities across Utah. This includes decades of work with the Utah Food Bank, contributing 1.8 million pounds of food and $4.2 million, equivalent to more than 15 million meals for families in need. We also support organizations like Junior Achievement and Boys and Girls Clubs. To learn more about our impact, visit about.fidelity.com/our-impact.
Through a long-standing commitment to Utah, Fidelity Investments continues to strengthen communities and expand opportunity. Their impact reaches far beyond the workplace, helping build a brighter future across the state. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
The new Inside Sources. Utah Heat. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
You needed to be reminded of that, didn't you? That it's really hot. And
it's really hot.
And tell our listeners why.
Oh, well, our air conditioner went out yesterday. We had a big electrical problem, and coming in this morning, I was figuring out what do I do with my puggle Titus. And I slept. He's my dog.
Yeah,
yes,
a lot of people don't
half pug, half beagle.
Okay.
He's an absolutely wonderful dog, not the brightest of dogs, although he's very gifted in seeking out food. My daughter said that if we stapled hamburgers to the ceiling, Titus would learn how to fly.
Get there, right.
But we're very sensitive about the heat. I put him down in the basement, and it's dark down there, and it's about 10 degrees cooler than the rest of the house.
Right, yeah.
So I think we're going to be okay. But, yeah, I'm very mindful of just how this is hitting us at home at this point.
Yep, and it's getting worse. Meteorologists are warning that people should find air conditioning, look for shade, drink plenty of water as a major heat wave is coming through. Here's KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis on that.
Are in the upper 90s. However, National Weather Service meteorologist Brittany Whitlam says it's the overnight lows in the 80s that are causing the most concern.
That's pretty unseasonable for us, given we've had a lot of cloud cover, so it's just been keeping those warmer temperatures overnight, which is, again, exacerbated those heat impacts across the region.
Whitlam says this is up to 15 degrees over normal average temperatures. While the heat advisory is in effect, she says to stay in air-conditioned rooms if possible and check in on the elderly and the unhoused. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
You know, it's something we sort of think about a lot in the desert, and we live in the desert, that no matter how hot it gets during the day, you can always count on it cooling off at night.
And it didn't cool off last night.
Yeah, last night was I think that when we started the program, one of the meteorologists said it was a record high low.
Record high low, yes.
Yeah, record high low temperature. And it's in the 80s. That's pretty concerning. And because if you don't have air conditioning, you don't need to be reminded of this. Usually you think, okay, at least I have the AC, or at least at night it's going to cool off. And some people don't have either benefit right now.
Yeah, no, I wasn't nearly as mindful of it as I am today, recognizing that just one kind of electrical glitch and you're in danger.
Yeah, it's spooky, and we have situations up where we are up in the Ogden Valley. It's a higher temperature, or higher elevation. And so you expect it to cool off more, but last night was a warm night, but our air conditioner works great. You know, we have another thing, and I'm not trying to rub it in here, but we spent the money and bought solar panels, including some solar batteries. So when the power goes out, our power doesn't go out. I mean, if the air conditioner goes out, that's another unit, but another problem. But we have several stories, and we have air conditioning on each one, so at least you know something's going to work. But I'll tell you, and I'm not touting solar by any means, but the power never goes out. We never have a power outage.
No, this is going to make me look at that as a possibility.
I mean, you spend a lot of money, and they say it never pays for itself, but those nights when you need it, you get it. So another thing, and again, you don't need to hear this, but my wife, I was doing parades this weekend. I told you about that earlier. We decided to go take our little van up the hill, and we went to Smith Morehouse, I think it's called, a little reservoir up in the high Uintas, medium high Uintas in Summit County. It was only an hour and a half drive, and we had the windows down in the van at night, and it was cold. I mean, it was bitter cold. I mean, I was like sleeping on top of the sleeping bag, like no thanks. I jumped in it and got up in the morning to walk the dog, not dressed appropriately at all, but it was cold at night, so you appreciate that. But in the valley here, if it's going to be 80 degrees tonight, that's kind of spooky.
It is indeed, but it's also, my lawn is dying, which is part of that is that I have a battle to the death with my sprinkler system every year.
Yeah.
But the amount of water necessary to deal with this kind of heat while we're in the midst of a drought, I think that is a huge deal. That's not something we talk about a whole lot, but I really think that this ought to push us more towards looking at xeriscaping and different sort of drought-resistant ways to deal with our yards, because if this kind of heat is going to be a long-term feature of living in the Salt Lake Valley, we've got to make accommodations for that.
It's going to be a long-term feature.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what's happening in Europe, Spain. I mean, they're having record temperatures. You look at what happened this year with our mountains, snowpack. It just didn't occur. Our Great Salt Lake is in trouble, and we're hosting the Olympics in 7 years or 8 years, like
Yeah.
on what? What are we skiing on? I'm literally nervous about it. Well, I wanted to thank you for being here, but I wanted to pivot to something before we leave, and hopefully, Jim, you'll be back tomorrow.
I will be back
because
tomorrow.
I love having a co-host. I'm reading today that Brian Kohberger, the man who killed the 4 University of Idaho students up at the University of, I think it was Idaho University, 4 or 5 years ago, is now asking the court to withdraw his guilty pleas. It's been kind of a big deal in the media today. If you recall, he was went on this weird sort of thing one night as he was there, went into this room, this house where these 4 individuals were sleeping, killed them all, used a knife in each instance, and then fled to Pennsylvania, and I may have gotten some of the facts wrong, where he was caught. He posted some really weird images of himself and that he'd kind of gotten away with something. He then went, it was scheduled to go to trial, and the authorities in Idaho, of course, they have 4 homicides, and Idaho has laws virtually identical to Utah as it relates to the death penalty. They were pursuing it as a death penalty case. And it's important for something I'll tell you about in just a minute. He avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty to 4 counts of murder with the understanding that he would get life without parole 4 times. So he's going to die in prison. The families of the victims, if you recall, Jim, were really upset. At least 1 or 2 of them were. And it bothered me because I would have thought the Idaho authorities would have consulted them before they gave him a deal.
But they're upset because it took the death penalty off the table?
Exactly, because they said this is not fair. He should have got the death penalty. He clearly deserved it under their understanding. The authorities said, look, we saved a lot of time. We saved a lot of money. We saved a lot of resources. He gave us what we wanted. He pled guilty. He's gone. He'll never walk out. And the families were upset. So when I see today that he's preparing to file a motion, or maybe has already filed a motion to withdraw his guilty pleas, I thought some of those families might actually think that's a good idea. You know what I mean? Because if it puts the death penalty back on the table, right. And I'm sure Kohberger knows this. I'm sure somebody's talked to him about it. Maybe he just misses the spotlight that he received while the case was pending, and he wants to get back into it. But be careful what you ask for, Brian, right. Because Idaho, if you ask old Chad Daybell, they know how to pursue a death penalty case, and they're pretty good at it. And they've got good prosecutors there, and they seem to have a pretty good case against him. And he's also going to be hard-pressed to say, I didn't do it. And he said, I did it after he gave all the information and pled guilty. So what I don't know what his defense is going to be, unless he says, my attorney told me I had to admit to something I didn't do, and I just did it to save my life. But I just thought when I read that today, you can withdraw your plea. It's not impossible, although in his case I think it's going to be improbable. I don't think the judge will allow it to occur. But if he does, and that plea is set aside, the authorities in Idaho are going to go after him with guns a-blazing, figuratively, and say, okay, let's put the death penalty back on the table, and let's get a jury of 12 up here and hear this case and see the evidence we've got, because they had a pretty compelling case against him, which is why he took the plea in the first place. Anyway, I thought, boy, I don't know who's advising him or if he's just making some poor decisions on his own. Anyway, that's it for today. We're going to turn it over to Maria Shilaos with more of Utah's heat wave, what can be some record-setting temperatures. Utah's new news is up next. Stay with us on KSL News Radio.